live from Facebook and our YouTube channel. Please click the subscribe button and the like button and all that stuff that, y'all know what to do. So today we are going to interview Pastor Ken Kozacek, aka Mr. K, aka the Daddy Dude. And we're just going to talk about life as a parent of a differently abled individual, and we just wanted to share that with you. Miss Silk is here. She's doing the piano. Where is she? She right there. Where is she? Oh, there she is. Yeah, she's doing the piano, and we're just going to hand it over to you, Mr. K. Let's see, and then I have to. I don't know how to. Okay, it's already ready. So, it doesn't show me how to switch it over. I messed up again. How do I get it to go to flip it? I messed it up. I'm learning this. Give me a minute. Okay, Mr. K, you can start. Let's see, it says flip. I want to go prime. Oh, there we go. Flip the screen. There we go. So we have Mr. K present. And now I got to move the camera because you moved. There we go. So we're coming to you live. Oh, it says start live video. I didn't do that. I'm learning. Jesus, you moved.
We can just flatten that out.
There we go.
Mm.
Okay, the top of your head is...
Where do you want me to go? Right here?
Move back just a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're live. Are we live here? Okay, let me start again.
Go ahead.
Let me start again. Are we going live? Does it start video? Oh, this is freezing. Here we go. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, everybody. This is Miss Lacey coming to you live from the study of Pastor Ken Kozacek, aka Mr. K, aka the Daddy Dude, and aka my dude. Today we are going to have a few minutes to talk about life as parents of a differently abled individual who has brought so many blessings and so much joy to us. But we're going to get it from the standpoint of her dad, Mr. K, Pastor Ken Kozacek, and the Daddy Dude. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself. This is all, this is not scripted. We're just going to go for it. And for those of you that may feel a little offended or uncomfortable about the authenticness of this post, handle it, because it is what it is and it's real. Here you go, Mr. K. Welcome, Mr. K, to Silk's Angels in the Zone interview on Can We Talk for Real, and to our YouTube channel. And I just wanted to start off by saying thank you very much for taking this time to enlighten us, which I know that's what you're going to do, on your thoughts and your feelings about raising your daughter and the world. So here we go. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I've been working remotely, like a lot of people, and I'm officially finished for the day. So you know what? We can start with the name Mr. K. Mr. Kim came about because
Look in the camera when you talk.
Oh, am I seeing you? See me now?
Yeah, I see you looking.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if I. Oh, I thought I was gonna look at you. I said I gotta look at the camera. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. K came about because I taught at Rikers Island. For some of you who may not know that, that's the big jail, the big city jail where people go when they're getting temporarily waiting. They're temporarily waiting for their case to come to court. At least before the pandemic. I taught out there for about 8 or 9 years. And Mr. K came about was because people could not pronounce the name Kozacek, and we had to assume some kind of anonymity. So it was either you go by your first name or initial or something like that. So Mr. K seemed like the easiest one. I was never comfortable with calling a teacher Ken or John or Susan or whatever. So I'm sorry, I'm spaced out. I'm thinking here. So that's how a lot of people know me by Mr. K. Some people know me as Mr. Kozacek. Some people know me as Pastor Ken Kozacek. I've had a street ministry, Holy Fools for Christ Ministry, on the streets of New York before the pandemic. I would go, not to make a big deal about it, but I just meet people on the street, pray for them. They had cancer, just talk with them, and never made a big deal about it, never made a church out of it, just it was a one-to-one thing. So some people know me as Pastor Ken. And then in other circles, I'm an interfaith or legally ordained interfaith minister. So the people in that community know me as the Priest of Wolves. Let's just say that's a long story, how I came about the Priest of Wolves. I love wolves. It kind of goes all that. So I've been a teacher now for about 21 years in the New York City school system. Before that, I worked in corporate and in hotels in Midtown. I also, after those hours, I worked with Miss Lacey at her after-school programs all around the Bronx. And I just never intended to save anybody, never intended to do any of that. I just helped her out the best way I know how. And I got to know the kids, and eventually she convinced me to give teaching a try. And then bringing Silk into the picture. When Silk was born, obviously the teaching hours became a little bit better, and I could spend a lot more time with Silk after school hours. And then the working with the students, I had already been working with Miss Lacey in all the say Bronx River housing projects, Castle Hill projects, Bronxdale, Monroe, Webster. We did them all. Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club, Hoe Avenue Boys and Girls Club. We did it all, and you know what? I just got comfortable, and then when I walked into the classroom, that was the least of my problems, was working with the kids. And so now it's like 21 years later, and I'm kind of looking at the end of my career, if you want to call it that, but I've had many. I worked in restaurants. I cooked for about 15 years. As I said, I worked in hotels for many years. So Silk came around, and then the teaching became the better thing because I could spend more time with her.
And I'm sorry, and where did you go to school?
Okay, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I'm a Pennsylvania boy. I'm originally from Easton, Pennsylvania. Most people know Easton as the home of Larry Holmes, one of the greatest heavyweight champions in the world. And had a good foundation there. I ended up going to, I got a good academic scholarship to Gettysburg College. A couple years later, after traveling through Europe for a few years, I ended up at City College, working on my master's in English and creative writing under world famous poet Anne Lauterbach. And it's really funny because the only reason I got state certified in English was because I had taken all these undergraduate courses in English and found out that, wow, I had more than enough credits to become a New York State certified teacher. So that kind of worked out pretty well. But my degree was in philosophy. So with a degree in philosophy, I was qualified to buy a beer at the local pub. But that's another story.
So my first question to you...
Oh, and then I also attended, just to give them their credit, I went to the the new seminary, which was one of the first interfaith seminary, as far as I know, at least in the United States and on the planet. They did a lot of work in 9/11, during and right after, and learned a lot of nice things from a lot of great people, very diverse group of people. And so I am legally ordained by them in the city of New York. Okay, go ahead. I saw.
So my first question to you is parenting.
Yes.
As a person that has never been around children, that have never been around babies, growing up, as you stated to me, how was this intro to fatherhood for you?
Well, going back to what Miss Lacey said was that, my family was spread out across the United States, anywhere from North Carolina, Georgia, West Virginia, California. So I didn't really know my cousins growing up. We weren't a close-knit family. I didn't know anything about babies. I didn't know anything about daycare. The first experience I got working with children was working with Miss Lacey in the after-school programs, and there was mostly what do you call that? Public school, 5th and 6th graders, and then later on high school kids.
Right.
So I didn't really know kids, and forget about babies. There were no babies in my family. I had my little sister. She was 7 years younger than me, and I sort of remember that. But by the time I was 14, I was already involved. I was a state level competitive swimmer. I'm not going to say I was the best, but I did pretty okay. Had a bunch of records, all that good stuff. But I didn't know kids. I only knew my little sister, if you want to be honest with that. So I met Miss Lacey.
Where did we meet?
We met at the Limelight. Anybody knows about New York in the 80s? Now, I have to preface this by saying I did not know. I didn't go to clubs. I was not a club kid. I'm really kind of like a, beer and shot kind of guy, play some pool and darts. I had recently been divorced from my first wife, who ran off with a rock star, but that's another story. We'll leave that for another Facebook thing. But I learned a lot from her. I don't have no ill feelings. I mean, it was what it was. And so I was working with some friends, and for months they were like, Ken, you got to go out and meet people. We always go to the clubs after work. And now after work meant going out after 11 o'clock at night. So because we worked up until 11 at night, the late shift. And so finally, after about 6 weeks, anyway, we went down to the Limelight. And I can still remember what I had on. I had on these army jeans, which I wore religiously, as if they were part of a cult or something like that. Sweatshirt, my black beret, and so Miss Lacey was out there dancing in her derby, and I just asked to dance. So we danced for about 4 hours, and I'll be honest with you, I forgot how to date. So I didn't get her number, and Lacey, being Lacey, she lost it. She lost my number. I gave her my number. I thought that was polite. And that was January, I think of 88, 89. I didn't run into her. Make a long story short, I'll fast forward to...
It was 88.
That was 88. So I'll fast forward to early November of 89. Truth be told, I met an old girlfriend from college for lunch. I was going to work, and I ran into Lacey 9 months later at 50th and Broadway because she was going to a dance class. So I was smart that time, and I got her number because I had already been into her. Actually, I was in a relationship between the time I met her at the club and the time I met her again. So this time I was smart, and I got her number, and that was like 30-some years ago. Maybe I should have lost the number. Laugh out loud. So we got together, and Silk came around a couple years. Well, we got together, and I mean, there's so much to tell. I mean, what part? I mean, you just want to go back to. So Silky gets born in '92, January of '92. Her boys at that time were at Milton Hershey private school in Pennsylvania, at Hershey, Pennsylvania. And after a certain point, they wanted to come home and live with us. Silk is born in January, and again, I didn't know nothing, or I didn't know anything to be the proper teacher here, right? I didn't know anything. So I did learn Lacey. You know, I could say I was in graduate school too at the time. I had 6 more months to go. I was working on my master's thesis, and I was tutoring at City College. But when Silk was born, we quickly learned from her nurse practitioner, Lucille Corva. Let me just give a shout out to nurse practitioners.
Shout out to Ms.
Nurse practitioners are some of the best. Not nurses aren't great, but nurse practitioners, they give you more in many ways than many doctors do. Let me just put it that way. Lucille Corvo was the best. That's all. I've had a few of them since then, and they're just really great.
Shout out to Lucille Corva from Jacoby Hospital.
Yeah.
Amazing lady. Thank you very much for everything.
So she basically just told us that, you know what, Silk is not, Silk's really, according to the medical, you know, what's in the medical journal, she's not on point. In fact, she was doing nothing. I mean, we could go through the birth and what the doctors in the hospital said. I mean, real quickly, they said that she was going to be severely disabled and that we could leave her in the hospital. Well, they told Lacey that, leave her in the hospital and she'll be dead in a few years. But on record, according to the lawyers, they said that she should have danced out of New York Hospital. And yet we found that she was severely disabled. Doctor says she didn't have her gloves on to stop pushing. We think she had she exhibited all the signs of a stroke. We have pictures of the bruises around her forehead of where she was sort of stuck. But the lawyer said there's nothing to go on because the records show that she was perfectly normal. And like I said, she should have danced out of hospital. But 6 specialists in Lacey's room said she's going to die in a couple years. We'll just put her in a home and she'll be dead and that'll be it. So we took her home. And again, you got to realize, I don't know nothing about babies. I don't know nothing about kids. I don't know nothing. And I'll be honest with you, in retrospect, I just trusted Lacey. I didn't trust anybody else. My parents weren't there for us, and nobody was really there for us. Lacey just said, "Listen, we're gonna do the best we can, and we're gonna figure this out as we go along." Now she had raised her boys and all her nieces and nephews, and I just went on the fact that she kind of knew what she was doing, and I go with the flow because this is my first child. So, like I said, Lucille told us that. Silk was way, way behind. I mean, she couldn't even sit up. Okay, so we started early, what do they call that? Early childhood, early intervention.
Yeah.
Which was pretty, as far as we knew, it was pretty, still in its relatively beginning stages in the 90s. And we had some great therapists. But basically, Silk was behind. And I quickly found out, like, she should have at least been sitting up at 6 months. I think she didn't stand up till almost 4 years old. They had to create this stand, literally a thing that you put a child in, and it holds them up so they can develop the strength in their legs. They built this out of foam from scratch.
Technology is so different now.
Yeah, it's really different now. But
so different now.
So eventually, Silk learns to stand But like I said, my reality was Silk. Or as I named her, let's go back to how she got her name. Her real name is Cy Shirley LaKenna. You already know her last name is Kozacek like mine, but Cy Shirley comes from Lacey's father, who was named Cyril or Cy. Her oldest son named Siam that we called Cy. The Shar comes from Shardheem. The next son, Shardheem, so we got Cy Shar, and I put the Lay at the end from Lacey. LaKenna comes from Lacey and Ken. So that's where that came from. And again, it's kind of like if you sent me to another solar system and a new planet with new alien beings, or what we would call aliens, but this is their world, I would just have to learn from scratch. I had no idea what I was doing. And I'll be honest with you, Lacey coached me a lot. And I'm not saying, I know some people think Lacey's a know-it-all and has all the answers to everything. Well, she has answers to a lot of things. And in terms of, I think, children and babies, she did work in daycare for a couple decades. So she kind of knew, and then she raised her niece and nephew. So she did know what she was doing. And I just trusted her. And since I was getting out of graduate school, she gave me the opportunity. She said, listen, I'm working. Why don't you, so this is what you do. This is how you change the diaper. This is how you make the milk, the formula, whatever. And I had the opportunity to be a father, a stay-at-home father for at least 2 years that I remember. And I learned. I learned what I only know. I can only say this. I learned what Silk was about. And in terms of talking about children with different abilities or disabilities, whatever you want to use, the term you want to use. The bottom line at the end of the day is that there's a lot of things they can do, and there's a lot of things they simply can't do. And
or they have difficulty doing.
They have difficulty doing. So at the end of the day, my reality was Silk. And I learned how to take care of her. But I would share with other parents out there that, it's kind of like, anytime you have a child, let's just start with, we'll just stick with people with different disabilities. Your child's different abilities are going to be way different from Silk's. There might be some similarities. The doctors might say, oh, she's autistic, or she's mentally retarded or handicapped, or whatever the terms they want to come up with. Some of those terms we were told over the years were political terms that would get you more services and more funding. But that was back maybe in the 90s. I like I said, I don't know what it's like now, but I can only say in terms of raising a child, every child is going to be different. But then as you go on through the years, we've had a few friends, or let's say acquaintances. Because I think at the end of the day, only Lacey and I are friends. To be really honest with you, we take care of each other in terms of what we do with Silk and what we do for each other. Friends have only been like, the term I really hate the most is I used to work with children like her. Excuse my language, that's the worst fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, and it will haunt me to the day I die. You don't know nothing. You really don't. Working with them for a paycheck and it being your child is two different worlds. I'll just leave it at that. So, excuse me. Everybody's child is going to have different things that they can do, they can't do. They can do to a certain degree, they can do to a certain extent. And then you get these cognitive jumps once in a while, like Silk learned to feed herself one day with a spoon. Major milestone for us. For other people, that was something that happened maybe in the first year of a child's birth. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I know what Silk did, and I've heard other stories of people with their own children with disabilities or different abilities, and their milestones were different, very different. Is as it is. Where do you want me to go with this one?
So,
I got so many things. I could talk about 30 years. We don't have 30 years of time. We don't have
30 years of time. No. But we're live on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we're live on Silk's Facebook. And I thought this was very, very important and a good timing to catch the dude when he can be cognitively up and doing that. And Silk is sitting here in the midst of this also. But my question to you is, we want to go back to when Silk was in the baby team.
Well, the baby team...
And the baby team was the best therapy that the best beginning therapy that she ever had. After the baby team, everything went downhill and it became a battle to get her her basic needs.
Well, the baby team and the cerebral palsy on Pelham Parkway, they kept she transitioned from the baby team to cerebral palsy on Pelham Parkway.
Tots. These are our treasures.
Tots, yeah. And then when she had to go into the New York City school system, that's when things were basically over, to be honest with you.
She was 5.
She was 5. Yeah, I think they were 5, 5.5, or something like that. The baby team. You know what I'm going to say? It's like with any profession. Some people really like doing their job, and some people really give it more than 100%. And even if they're having a bad day, they give it where it seems like it's 100% all the time. And then I can say this, when she went into the so-called first grade later on after, and the people at TOTS were excellent too. Excellent therapists. We might have had a couple issues with some of the teachers, but they were easily solvable. But she got a great start. They gave her handmade standers out of foam. They gave her eventually orthotics for her feet that were custom made.
Built up high chair
So she couldn't sit up. I mean, Silk really couldn't sit up for years. She couldn't stand for years. And forget about walking. You know, you can't stand, you can't sit. You're not going to do the rest of it.
Couldn't roll over.
So she had a great beginning. We did go back to TOTS a few years ago. Well, I think a few years ago for people that are our age. A few years ago, it's probably 15 years ago, but and they were some of the people were still there, and it looked like they were still doing some of the same things. But I remember the director telling us, she says, once you leave here, I'm going to warn you, it's not fun.
It's brutal.
It's brutal out there. And the director of the program said, the New York City Department of Education, in terms of working with special needs, a lot of paycheck collectors, and that's what we experienced. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have one really good memory. I don't have one good memory of the early years, and then it just got worse and worse as she got older. We did the IEPs. She at one point at the last couple of years, she had a one-to-one nurse. She had a one-to-one para, and only a class of 6 to 1-to-1, and she was getting hurt. And because she couldn't speak, she couldn't tell us what was going on. Do you know what it's like to go to an emergency and your daughter has bruises or is hurt and you can't explain anything because the school didn't explain anything to you? And then when you ask for the records, we would get these blocked out records like they were CIA documents or something like that.
Whiteout. They whited out a lot of stuff.
Well, blackout, whiteout, whatever you want to call them. And the one-to-one nurse was scared to say something because she knew what happened, but she was afraid of losing her job because that was her job. The power obviously worked for the principal, so she wasn't going to say anything. So there was a lot, and then she started getting the seizures. I mean, I'm fast forwarding. There's so much that went on or didn't go on. You know what? You just come up against people that just don't care. We have a video, and I still don't know why they actually sent this video home. We wanted a video of Silk in school eating lunch and doing therapy, stuff like that. They showed us a picture of her at lunch, a video. No, this was a video of her at lunch.
It was a video of how her day went because they didn't want me in the school.
Right, yeah,
so they wanted to make me feel comfortable by doing this video of how her day went. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I remember they were taking the food off the tray and putting it back on her food tray and then helping her eat it. That was part of it. So it's like, who knows how dirty things was. I mean, we could say, if you want to put
They were throwing food at her.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They were throwing food at her. She had in her stool that night when she came home
paper
in her
brown
stool.
paper from the
paper.
brown paper that you get in the bathrooms. Yeah.
Yeah, she had
So
that.
she
in
was
her
eating
stool.
brown paper
They had her
as part of her lunch.
Yeah, they had her tied to a chair. She's not a runner, so she was tied down to a
so
chair.
can run.
These are all the things that were sent, that was on this video, that the principal didn't see the video before they sent the video home. And when we got the video and we saw it, we broke down in tears that that's how our daughter was being treated in school. And then when we brought it to their attention, they wanted the video back.
Right. And you know what? This is not an indictment of the whole system. But this is what our experience was with our daughter and the teachers and therapists that were responsible for her in her early years.
And then we had an experience of where she had a one-to-one nurse and a one-to-one para. And she was in the lunchroom and a boy strangled her. Remember?
Yeah. Because his para was having a conversation with somebody else that wasn't really paying attention.
Exactly. But we were irate parents.
Yeah.
I was irate. So my question to you is that in terms of your experience with the Board of Ed, from the things that I shared with you, because I was in school all the time. I dropped her off. She stopped riding the school bus because she got hurt on the school bus, and they covered that up. Where were you on a scale of 1 to 10 when it came to her education?
As far as I'm concerned.
Wait a minute, let me rephrase that. Where were you on a scale from 1 to 10 when it came to the free and appropriate and safe education?
Well, you could say it was free, but it wasn't safe. And I don't think it was appropriate. I mean, I know there's such thing as accountability, and if you got 6 kids in your classroom and a para, they should have been able to do a lot more with Silk, especially since she had a 1-to-1 para and there was 2 other paras in the room. There were other paras. So a lot more should have been going on. But basically, as a teacher, I know, and Lacey as a teacher, we know what the teacher did or didn't do. She wrote her lesson plan. They created work that Silk obviously didn't do, and they called it work. And the principal and the assistant principal thought it was appropriate. Now, this is our experience in Silk's life in the early days. I like to think in 2000, before the pandemic, that things have changed in District 75. And I don't know what happens in other school districts around the United States. What I do know is that there isn't a District 75 in most cities in the United States. That I do know. Most of the time, the situations for people with different abilities, disabilities, is a lot worse outside of New York City and some of the big cities. So if you want to say, okay, your child goes to this place and you know they're not going to learn anything, but they're relatively safe, and let's face it, for a lot of parents, and I'm not gonna pull punches, they had a babysitter for a few hours, so they could get some things done or they could get a rest, and then they knew when their child came home off the bus, they had to do work again. Okay. But those districts we know that doesn't exist around the United States. And maybe it's different now, but I know for many years, in Silk's early years, it just didn't exist.
Okay, so moving forward, what do you think about all the opportunities that we were given, well, quote and unquote, opportunities that we were given by the district giving us a Nickerson letter to put her in a private school?
Well, so for people that don't know, I don't know if these still exist. Again, Silk is 29, but the Nickerson letters enabled us to choose a school of our choice. In or around a private school, in and around New York City. Everyone we looked at, as far as I can, was
glorified institution.
It was a glorified institution. And it wasn't it wasn't any different than what she was experiencing.
Right.
And now it's a much longer distance, further distance away. So at least in Silk's early years, the Nickerson letters, I mean, they did their job. They said, hey, if you can find a good program. What they probably didn't tell us was that, you know what? None of the private schools are any better than what we're doing.
Not only that, is that she would have to be on the bus at 4 in.the.morning.
Yeah.
And ride for almost 2.5 hours
Before she got to school.
Before she got to school. She doesn't have language. We can't see her. We don't know what's going on, and we're not supposed to ask those questions because she got a Nickerson letter. Be happy she's going to a private school.
And then just to real quickly, a little story about the buses. One of our last buses, the driver and the matron. It wasn't even a matron. It was a dude who was supposed to be the matron. They couldn't speak English. So whatever happened to the students on the bus, unless the students spoke some kind of Spanish, or if the parents spoke Spanish, the bus driver and the matron, who was a guy, wasn't even a woman, they couldn't tell us what went on because they couldn't speak the English language.
Right.
I'm going to leave it just like that. It's exactly what I said it was. You're hiring people, this again, who cannot speak the English language and communicate to, let's say, black parents that don't speak Spanish. And there's, you know what, I always tell people, listen, bottom line is, a lot of people in the world that don't speak Spanish. I actually happen to do, I can read and write and speak Spanish fluently, but that's a whole different story. I wasn't always there because I was working. But if this is what the bus system did, and this is what the school system did, and I mean, it was just a terrible experience. So the only reason, when you see videos of Silk on Facebook, the only reason she's as far, and then I'm not even going to get into the seizure. The school allowed her to be in a seizure all day long. Then we had to take her to emergency. She was in a seizure for 5 days. Not 5 minutes, people. 5 days. At some point, they had to transfer her to Montefiore because they didn't know what to do with her at Jacobi in those days. They had to induce a pentabarb coma. We didn't find out till 9 months later on that Silk was going to probably die. She had a 50-50 chance to live. So the only reason that you see Silk doing what she does is because of, and I'll give Lacey Moser credit, because again, I've been on a learning curve this whole journey with Silk. I learned some things, but I didn't know children the way Lacey knew children, and or babies and things like that. And she is where she is because of Lacey. And then again, I learned, you know, over the years how to do much more with her. And Silk will do different things for different people. That's true. But the bottom line was that, you know what, we did a lot of this ourselves. And for parents that are maybe have newborns or children that are relatively, you're in your first couple years and you're finding out that maybe they're autistic, maybe your child's going to get language. And at least if they have language, that's going to be a beautiful thing. But then there's a whole nother journey that goes with that. You have to decide. I can only say this. Lacey and I made a decision at some point. We're not going to put Silk in a home. We're going to take care of her as long as we can. And we've sacrificed a big part of our lives. Yeah, Lacey's done a lot of dancing. But she's also had Silk there all the time. She's taught a lot. And, you know, she worked in these programs. But Silk was always there because she could take Silk with her. But we did sacrifice a big part of our lives to take care of herself. Now, there's a whole nother, I want to put, and this is not a whole self-pity thing. What I want to add to that is that having a child such as Silk, I've told people on many occasions, this is the closest you're going to get to God in this lifetime. Now, some of you may not believe in God. That's your, you know, whatever. That's your right. Our experience of being with Silk every day, and there's a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of the everyday stuff. You know that you're frustrated. She can't do this. She can't do that, or she's doing it to her best ability. But it's like, hey, we've been doing this for 20-some years, and in many ways, in some cases, she's not doing anything more than she did when she was 5 years old. But we made this decision decades ago. And this was God's gift to us, and we committed to her. That's all I really know. And again, we've sacrificed a lot of our interests and a lot of our careers and things like that just to make sure Silk could have a good life. I know a lot of people can't do that. I see people on Facebook, they put their parents in nursing home years ago. You know what? I'm not going to criticize you. No, I am going to criticize you. You made that decision, financial reasons or whatever. That's what you decided to do. You weren't going to take care of your parents. I have a friend who's Korean. Their grandparents, all she's ever known was that her grandparents grew up with her. Her parents grew up with her. And you can get married and still live in the same household. That's what at least in her case, the Korean families do, the Asian families do. They take care of each other. And I'm not saying we're not Asian, but we made this commitment to take care of Silk. She's part of us. If my mother and father was in that position, we would have taken care of them. And we've told Lacey's mother, she's not going into a nursing home. We'll take care of her if we have to. But you have to make the decision. I just don't see how you can live your life and expect other people to do a better job, whether it's with your older parent or your child that's got disabilities that can't do a lot of stuff. Now in Silk's case, she has no language. You tell me, we put her in a home, she's not going to get raped. She's not going to be sexually abused. She's not going to be physically abused. All you got to do is read the papers. I mean, watch social media. And I think God is going to take care of her and us as long as we can. I would like to think most parents that are beginning, you're going to do the same thing. It's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing your life. It's not without its rewards. Lacey and I are at the point where we can't even think. It's been years. I think the last time we thought about going on a date was like 20 years ago. Because now it's at the point, I mean, for like the last 20 years, it's like we can't think of doing something without Silk being there with us. Right, Silk? Silk has been to every Broadway show you can name that's been out there when it was there. We sacrificed the money as long as we could get tickets. I've taken her to as many rock concerts as I can get her to. She's been to Vegas, 11, 12 times? She's been to Hawaii twice. We save money, we sacrifice things so Silk can have a good life. She's been all over the United States. She's been to family reunions. So everybody in North Carolina knows Silk. All right? So, I mean, this is just the reality. It is a lot of work. It's a 24/7. I mean, I haven't slept 8 hours in 30-some years. I don't even know what an 8-hour sleep is. And I'm not saying Silk is responsible for that, but Lacey and I are both really sensitive. Silk moves, or we hear her in the next room, or we can hear it. We know we have monitors. We know when she's moving. We know when she's coughing. We know that. And you're awake. We could talk about yesterday. Silk has gastro problems. And rather than putting her through a whole, putting her to sleep and having them do an exploratory and find out what's actually wrong with her gastro system, and even if they found out what was wrong and they want to do the operation to make things a little bit better, do we actually want to put her through that? So she gets stuffed up once in a while, and then all of a sudden it explodes everywhere. It could explode in our car. It could explode in the house. And then we spend the next 2-3 hours cleaning it up, doing laundry. That's our reality. And I'm not saying, you know what? She didn't ask to come here. And I really believe at the end of the day, and I would probably end this unless Miss Lacey has other questions, I would probably say, listen, this is God's gift to you. This is God's challenge to you. And you're either going to accept it or not. We accepted it. I sacrificed a whole bunch. And I'm even talking about walking into Lacey with already having 2 boys that were 11 and 9 when I met them. I'm not even going to, that's a whole different Facebook interview. But, you know, be that as it may, there was so much I sacrificed. And it is what it is. And I'm not a hero. I'm not a saint. It's just something. I made a choice because I could have walked out a long time ago. Lacey could have walked out a long time ago. A lot of our family walked out a long time ago.
Amen.
You know? And,
a lot of people we know walked out a long time ago.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, you get tired of having conversations with family. I don't want to hear you worked with people like Silk years ago. I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear that kind of stuff. And then I could say this, all the godparents we chose for Silk, I criticized myself. I made bad choices. We chose 4 people to be her godparents. And but Lacey, this is the truth. We're talking about the truth here. Nobody did anything. And we didn't ask anybody to spend money. We didn't ask anybody we just asked you, maybe make a phone call. Call up and say, how's Silk doing? That's all. Listen, I'm being very real. Nobody did anything for Silk. She's 29. And you know, at this point, the one dude, he died of cancer a couple years ago. He was a great guy in and of himself. But he had 9 kids from like 7 different women. He had his own problems. He was a great guy. But I look at it this way. Lacey, we made bad choices. That's what it was. In retrospect, could we have chosen other people? You know what? And this is what I do share with people. I've never lived with regrets. I am not a Monday morning quarterback. Yes, some of you know that phrase. I don't wake up on Monday morning and figure out how we could have won the game yesterday. I made the best decisions. I can only talk about myself, and I don't know about Lacey, but I'm going to say this. I've always made the best decisions at the time based on my life experience, based on a feeling, and I went with it. I could play Monday morning quarterback, but you know what? Everybody makes a choice, and you have to live with your choices, good or bad or indifferent. And you might hear a little anger. Yes, I'm a little angry. You know what? Because Lacey and I feel often very, very alone. But you know what? What I do know at the end of the day, I'm caring for an aspect of God. Because God's right here. Now you can say God, I believe in Jesus and hallelujah and all that stuff. Yeah, that's all great stuff, people. This is the reality. Do you take care of it? In the old days, they took care of the people with leprosy or whatever it was, or whatever the thing was. And we can talk about all the saints over the years. I'm not a saint. Lacey's not a saint. We made a decision to do this. And if you're somewhat spiritually attuned, I was raised Catholic. I believe in God, and I know God's right here with us. And to me, there's nothing more to say. I get to take care of a part of God every day. God's right here. Is it easy? No. Not physically, not as a human being. We still spiritual beings on a human journey.
Amen.
It's rough, man. It's rough. But what else you want me to do? If I was famous, like we were watching Lacey's cousin Wesley Snipes a few minutes ago. Famous actor. I mean, I'm not going to shout out Wesley. But anybody, there's a lot of people, and you know what? We can talk about a lot of famous people who had autistic children, and they could have been a lot more vocal over the years with their children, and for other people that are not as famous as them with children with different abilities or disabilities. They didn't, and the choice they made. You know what? And all I can say is this is a choice we made. And like I said, I mean, it's hard to, like, you can't pinpoint a moment. Like Lacey can tell you about this, I can tell you about this. You could be doing something like Silk, and she shows you this cognitive jump, if only for a split second, that she knows exactly what's going on, and she's very appreciative and very thankful. And you see God looking at you, or you feeling God saying, "Thank you."
Take a minute. I know you get very, very emotional.
It's just a lot, people. But you either make the choice to take care of what God gives you or not. You have an older person at home. Listen, all I know is my friend who's Korean. She works every day. She has her family. They take care of their older people. They don't put them in nursing homes. And I don't know what your journey was. I just can't imagine at this point. My parents have been dead for years. My older sister died at 43 and a half. I still can't imagine putting anybody. And you can say, well, it's about, yeah, you know what? We barely have 2 cents saved up. Everything I make, we just pay bills. But we take care of Silk. I make sure they have the best car possible. I have the best car possible for Silk. And after 20-some years, I'm making okay money where I can at least, make sure we got good car, we have good transportation. It's just a sacrifice. And I'm not, this is not for everybody. And if you're going to put your child in a home, or your parents in a home, and I don't even talk about parents for now. I'm going to talk about stuff. If you're going to put your child with disabilities in a home, you better do it and not ever look back. Or just put them up for adoption so you have no contact. I don't know how you can have contact. Knowing that people that are getting a little bit more than minimum wage to take care of your child 24/7? Are you out of your fucking mind? We've seen the homes. You know how many homes we have been to? I mean, in the early years when Silk was starting to become a teenager, we were starting to look ahead, just as a possibility. Maybe she could go to a day program. The day program sucked. We used to go down to, what was that place called?
West Farms.
Huh?
West Farms.
West Farms Cerebral Palsy, right?
Yeah.
This was the adult version. They gave them drugs and they put on freaking Law and Order and Special Victims Unit. There was adults 45, 50 years old laying on the floor watching TV. They didn't know their name. They didn't know how old they were. Lacey went in there and worked with them. They figured out who their name was. They figured out how old they were. And then when that became too much for the director, they kicked Lacey out and they drugged them all up.
Because they had to work.
And this was a brand new state-of-the-art facility. Cerebral Palsy spent millions and millions of dollars on this place. You want me to put my daughter in a home like that? And they had a classroom for Silk. They were going to put Silk, 23 years old, in a room with 55 and 60-year-old, mostly men, and 2 adults.
Well, let's talk about that day.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's talk about that day when you came in to see where they were going to place her, because she was only going to spend maybe 2 days because we had to send her up the hill. It's all right, Ken. And I wanted you to see exactly what these people were offering Silk. And what did you see? Men in Pampers.
Y'all heard stories of Creedmoor? This was an updated version of Creedmoor. Creedmoor, you guys can look it up on the internet. Creedmore. It was out in Queens. It was just an updated version. State-of-the-art facility. Had millions of dollars in terms of funding. And these people did absolutely fucking nothing. And I have to put it that way. They were all drugged up. And every single room had a TV on. And it wasn't like they had showing Sesame Street or any kind of learning channel. They were showing Special Victims Unit, Law and Order, whatever, all those crazy shows. I don't even watch those shows. Give me freaking nightmares. But this is places where many people out there have put their... As soon as we have a friend, listen, this person works at Montefiore Hospital. She's the parents' liaison. She put her kid in a home. The fuck? It's not like her husband didn't have a good job. You didn't need to work. No, she didn't want to do the work to take care of her child. And I just don't see it. If someone, listen, I hope somebody, you make some comments and say, well, this is our reality. We've looked at 1 million homes in the last couple of years. Haven't seen any place where people are professional. It's a great, easy paycheck. And I really hope, and if anybody from the New York City Department of Education is watching this, I hope somebody in District 75 is doing a much better job these last couple of years. I do hope this woman who's just became appointed temporary chancellor is going to, she comes from the Bronx. I do hope she looks into, forget about my district. I got good people at the top of my District 79. They do a good job. I hope she does a good job looking over District 75, because these kids, our babies, need help, and they need the principals, the assistant principals, and the teachers to be held accountable. If you don't want to do the job, go to another district.
Okay.
You know?
Well, thank you for that, Mr. K. And we have a few more minutes left, and I wanted to talk about, I wanted your view on the whole Silks Angels in the Zone nonprofit and center that we built. We had a great 8 years. We had a great run. It was toxic. It became toxic, but all in all, what is your view on how that impacted the neighborhood and what we brought to the neighborhood, or what we tried to offer the community and our local officials who just totally disregarded us?
Well, you know, I could go on for a few more hours about that, but let's just say early on we were given a space, but it was taken to space. See, the problem with the spaces in some of the buildings in the Bronx is that the way the system is run is that the supers, the basements, or these spaces are designated as community centers. But in actuality, what they do is become the super's private playroom. So in this case, although this space was given to us free of charge, it was taken away from a super who took it personally. With my education and my contacts, we had a GED program. The idea behind Silks Angels in the Zone was to teach the performing arts to people with different abilities, working alongside people with traditional abilities and normal abilities, so they would work together. And we do have any number of videos over the years where Lacey actually did accomplish that. But working in the particular community where we were, they were really about selling drugs, getting over. I mean getting over by stealing as much as they could from whoever they could steal it from. They were not about community. And eventually they made it their point to get rid of Silks Angels in the Zone. And at that point, the director who gave Silks Angels in the Zone that spot, he was trying to cover his tail because he was, let's just say, basically embezzling from the housing that he was the executive manager of. So he was he at some point was covering his own tracks. He was connected with all the local politicians in the Bronx. And you know, I've often said to Lacey, and I'm not saying Queens and Brooklyn and maybe some spaces in Manhattan are better, but I've had friends we've had people that have done successful programs in these other boroughs. They had a lot of support from their community, a lot of support from their politicians. Lacey's performed for every politician over the last 30 years that I've known her in the Bronx, including the mayor, and never got any financial assistance. Maybe one grant for $500 or something, where other people that she actually coached on how to establish a nonprofit were getting thousands and thousands of dollars a grant because they were connected politically. So my whole thing was, it really was the wrong place to start a program like that. It was a great space. You can look on Lacey's website and look at the pictures. She created a beautiful place down there. It was a beautiful spot. We had computers donated from various organizations. We had art equipment. We had everything. We had a lot of stuff donated. But then the community made it so that because there was so much drugs being sold, so much lack of support from anyone, including the local 4-H. Let's be real. 4-H didn't do shit either. All right? They were just as crooked as the drug dealers in many ways. They didn't do anything either. So it just, the cycle continued. And the cycle continued until we were legally told by the courts we had to get out. And now to this day, since Lacey got out, at how many years ago was it?
2015.
2015. The super's back in his little play spot. And he hasn't done shit with it. It's his little play spot for his friends and family. It's supposed to be a community center. All these spots are supposed to be community centers. There's not one out of, I think there's 56 buildings in this housing organization. And I'm not going to name the names. Lacey can tell you later on. 56 buildings, and not one of them we know has a working community center, except for the people that it's for the old people.
The senior home.
The senior home.
No, they closed that down too.
Oh, they closed that down? There you go. They closed it down.
So with and that was the toxic part, but what did you actually think, and did you get anything from anything that we've done in the community with Silks Angels in the Zone, like doing our events in the park? I mean, everything is always big because, yes, I'm extra. I like big stuff. And the fact that everybody was included, even though they did not support us, but when we did do events, the community came out because there was so many free things that they can take. There was so many activities that the kids could do, can take part in. We even we worked with the Communal Life Next Door, which were the HIV individuals that did the 3-month shifting of housing. Sometimes I feel like 8 years of my life, because I was 50 at the time, 8 years of my life was wasted. But then when we look at all the videos and all the work that we've done in the community, there was a reason why it was only 8 years and we had to move forward.
Well, I think like Miss Lacey said, everybody was always included, including the temporary housing next door with the HIV. We've always included them. That was never, there was, I think, 5 shelters within a few block community. We always invite everybody. There was a time when actually Cerebral Palsy did bring some of their people over, so they participated. So, you know what? Unless you interviewed them personally, I know there was a lot that went on. I know there was a lot of free gifts, free food over the years.
Nice shows.
And I think the individual, I mean, I could say this. I had a student. I tell you about connections and how when you make connections, Lacey has friends, people that she's worked with over the years, going back 35, 40 years. I have students that were locked up at Rikers with me. They were my students. They were gang members. Very successful right now. And they go out of the way, yo, Mr. K, what's going on, man? Every once in a while, it's it's like with a lot of people, you don't say hi every day. But, I see them having children and they're very successful in the profession that they chose. They're not dead, they're not in gangs, and they're very successful. Listen, I don't drive a 2-seater what do you call that, luxury sports car, but my students do. but they always going out of their way to contact Miss Lacey once in a while. So, and I guess you have to say that, you know, when someone says, you know what, someone says they come up to you, or you get a phone call or a text, or you see somebody on Facebook and they say, hey, Miss Lacey, hey, Mr. K, thanks, man. I'm doing okay. I'm out in Arizona. I started my own business 20 years ago. Or, you know, I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, you know. And we're not talking, these were not angels. These were not Ivy League students. These were kids that had a rough start.
And some of them got away. Some of them got away and did very, very well. And the ones that have been around, because we've been around, well, you've been around all of my kids. All of my...
I mean, truth be told, listen, people, I rarely play the race card, because a lot of people, this is a bad climate, but the bottom line is, for the last 30 years, I'm like one of the few white, half Eastern European, half Jewish people that's worked in the community. I've never seen any people that look like me for 30, 40 blocks in any direction. And I'm not saying I'm a saint. I've been with Lacey for many years. I just worked because I had skills. I went to really good freaking schools. And I thought I could give back the best way I knew how. And because I was with Miss Lacey and taking care of Silk, that's what I did. And I got along. I learned to get along. Sometimes I was successful. Sometimes I wasn't. You don't get everybody. But, I mean, one of my biggest, greatest experiences when Lacey worked at the Hoe Avenue Boys and Girls Club. There was a kung fu teacher there. Danny, I spent the better part of 18 years studying Northern Shaolin Dragon Kung Fu with him. Greatest experience of my life. And I got that, and it wasn't just training. You know, you went there after work and you worked with the kids in the computer room. You worked with Lacey in the dance room. And then we trained together in Northern Shaolin Dragon Kung Fu. We did it was a whole thing till like 9:30 at night. You know, and this went on for the better part of, like, as I remember, 15 to 18 years.
And Silk was there through it all.
Silk was there through it all. Simon Shardy was there through it all most of the time. But that's one of the great experiences of my life. Just I had the opportunity to train with a real grandmaster, and then I learned a little bit about computers. It wasn't my thing, but now during the pandemic, I've had to learn all this stuff. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, you know what? I'm just saying that, you know what? I always say to people, I know, you're not supposed to be Catholic and believe in reincarnation. This is my reincarnation, man. For better or for worse. I'll be back again.
Okay. So my next question and my final question to you is, what is your experience? Well, I don't want your experience because I don't want you to go in deep, because I know you'll go deep. But being a stepfather.
No, that's a good question. Go ahead. Being a stepfather.
Being a stepfather, you came from Pennsylvania. You were a lone wolf, and you came into a relationship, which I was very honest with you, and I told you I have 2 kids.
Well, when we met on 50th and Broadway for the second time after the Limelight, the first thing Lacey said to me, I asked her why she never called me. And the next thing, she stuttered, because she didn't really have well, then she did say she lost my number, but then the next statement out of her mouth was, I have an 11 and a 9-year-old. Do you still want to talk to me? Go ahead, finish your statement.
Yeah, I threw baskets at you, big time. This is what the deal is. But with that being said, that I knew the relationship with my sons was intense because we were all we had. And we went through a lot. We've been through a lot, just the 3 of us. So that was a concern of mine. So once you stepped into the picture, briefly, your experience with the boys and what you feel now.
Well, my first thought when Lacey told me was that
I'm a great guy. This can't be that hard.
um, and you know what? We had a lot of good years. So if you heard that those Tracy Chapman songs that we posted, for about the first 9 months of our relationship, we took road trips almost every weekend to Hershey, Pennsylvania to visit the boys. So it's not like, I mean, I'll be honest with you, we weren't really dating. We were going to see the boys. And then the boys came home. And I'm going to be really honest. I think we had a lot of good times over the years. Oh, this is just regular pipe tobacco, just to let you know. This is whiskey flavored tobacco. This is really good. It does relax me to some extent. Man, I hate that word. But let me think. The reality of raising stepchildren that aren't yours. First of all, we weren't even. They were Puerto Rican and black. I wasn't neither of those. So that was an issue. But they had spent a lot of time with white people in Pennsylvania, and I gotta put it that way because that's the reality of the situation, people. I wasn't their biological father that let them down. According to Lacey, she's always given him a phone number, an address. He's the one who chose all those years not to be involved with their life. And if you know anything about psychology and you read a little crap BS psychology on the internet, you're gonna figure out they're gonna take it out on they will take it out on the nearest person closest to them. So here I am. I'm trying to be I didn't even try to be a father. I tried to be the friend and to make life the best I could for them. I had the education. I could get them to the promised land, if you want to say that. They eventually chose they didn't want to do all that. They didn't even want to graduate from high school. Okay? That was their choice. They had to drop out, get their GEDs. But all that goes back to, and I'm gonna blame their father. Because I've heard, you know what? You know how I can, if I had $100 for every time I heard, you're not my fucking father, I could have retired 20 years ago. It was hard to discipline somebody's children that weren't mine. Lacey said, listen, this is what you got to do when I'm not here. This is not acceptable. But the bottom line was their father let them down. And because of that, they took it out on me. That's really what happened. And although I can say we had a lot of great times. Got a lot of great pictures. We had a lot of fun in the house as a family. We had a lot of great times going places. But at the end of the day, their father let them down, and I think that really changed the relationship between what we could have had. Because I thought about this a lot over the years. I think it could have been a lot better had they had a healthy relationship with their father. All the times he came to the Bronx from Las Vegas to visit his personal family, never stopped in, never made a phone call, was there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Come on, how would you feel as a kid? And then you got to deal with this white guy that just kind of stepped into your life. He's in love with your mother. He's got a baby with your mother. At least for a while, it was the three of us. We didn't really need the biological father. We had mom. Or as they call her, mommy. Who became she was known by other adjectives much later on as they became much older. But I'll let Lacey tell you that story. I wish it had been different. That's all I could say. I just think that I've read a lot on the internet over the years. I've heard a lot of stories. I think had their father been in the picture, could have been a much different relationship. And all the drama they had later on in their adult lives maybe not would have happened. Now, I've often said to Lacey, I would have kept him at Milton Hershey. Damn good private boarding school. Everybody, you can look up Milton Hershey. A lot of people went to Milton Hershey. A lot of people went on to great schools and got great starts in life. and because of all the business connections, very successful business people. I'm gonna say the fact that their father was not in the picture, and then I came in the picture, and then it was like, okay, now we don't have our dad, our biological father, because he was never a dad. He wasn't a dad nor a father. Okay, he was just a sperm donor in many ways. And I don't even know the guy. Never met him in my life, and I don't care to. You know what? He let his boys down. I was there, the best I could, and if Simon Shardy get a hold of this video, listen, dudes, I did the best I could. Your father let you down, and psychologically, you're fucked up because of him. Not me, not your mother, and not Silk. But then again, not only did they take it out on me, they took it out on Silk. Many times over the years, they just couldn't be big brothers to their sister. You know? But they took care of their whatever they were with. I'll put it that way. No, I don't have any respect for them. Because if you were a real woman, you would have made it a point to tell your husband or your boyfriend, you need to go, whether you like your mother or not, you need to go and talk to your mother and hang out with your sister. We'll work on our stuff later on. But they never did that because they weren't those kind of women. They didn't come from anything. So and I don't criticize them. They came from nothing. They didn't know nothing. They had no culture, no class, no courtesy. They were never taught anything. So I don't really criticize them in that sense. They never knew better themselves. So they never knew enough to tell their, Simon Shardy, listen, you need to go and be straight with your mother and your stepfather. Or Ken. I was never called, I'm referred to as Ken. But that's okay. Listen, I don't give a shit about all that. You know what? I wish it could have been different. And like I said, I'm going to say there were a lot of great times. It just could have been a whole different family environment had their father been around. And yeah, he is to blame. Their biological father, the sperm donor, is the one to blame.
Wow.
He simply wasn't there. And I don't know. And then what's funny, he went out and had another kid. And apparently from Miss Lacey's stories, did hoops and circles and circuses and Broadway shows to take care of him. And I'm glad he did. At least he has one son he took care of. But he had two others that he should have. And I just wish for, not even me, forget about me. I am not anybody. I'm just Ken. I just tried to help out over the years. I just wish, I think Simon Shardy would have been much more psychologically better adults and children had their father at least made a fucking phone call.
At making choices.
Yeah.
At making choices.
Yeah. So, you know what? And I've said to people, listen, I'm not going to be a liar. Based on my life experience of what I've done, no. If I had a choice to do this all over again, I should have listened to Lacey. I have an 11-9-year-old. Do you still want to talk to me? I probably should. And if I did this in another reincarnation, I hope I'd say no. Because it just didn't work out. And it not just didn't work out for me personally, it did work out for their sister personally, it did work out for their mom personally, and it didn't work out for them. They're just survivors. They're surviving the best way they know how. And I feel really bad for them. But there's nothing more I can say to them. I didn't do this to you. Your dad did. And then when they had the opportunity, I saved the money, sent them out to Vegas with their mother to see their father after 20-some years of him not contacting them. What did they do? They drank beers and got high with him. They had nothing to say to him. What the fuck? My experience, it's not for everybody. And I hope some of you out there, you're having better experiences. But the bottom line is if the biological mother or father are alive, they've got to be in contact. Or just completely disappear. Tell them that their fucking parent, their mother or father's dead. I mean, I don't know what the advice is, but what worked out, what happened the last 30 years was not a great thing. It really wasn't. And I feel really, really, I love my boys. I love them to death. It just didn't fucking work out, and we haven't talked in years. Because they became the people, the adults that they are, in my personal uneducated, lack of psychology, psychiatrist experience, they became who they are based on the fact that their father refused to contact them. And when they went out to Vegas to talk to him as adults, he had nothing to say. They had nothing to say. What the fuck? This was your opportunity. At least to ask a question. And of course, I wasn't there. Miss Lacey said, they just got high. Okay. So what does that make my last 20 years?
No, they spent time together. You know, they spent time together, but it was I was trying to do my thing. I was leaving them alone, but I thought they were going to ask questions or whatever because my job was done. They were 25 and 27.
Well, if they had a different experience, that I hope they could text their mother and say, listen, we did ask.
So I don't know what they spoke about. I don't know if they spoke or anything like that. But, my thing is to, the relationship, how the relationship unfolded with you and them. And they have a different, their side of the story about you. You have your side of the story. I know what I saw. And I know what choices I made.
Well, I can say this. I mean, let's just talk about the basic everyday stuff. You're supposed to go to school. I mean, when they came back from Mount Hershey, they were 3 years ahead of everybody. They were bored out of their freaking minds. So, but based on that, they decided they weren't going to do any homework. They just couldn't do the basic homework that was so damn easy. They weren't going to do any homework. And then they eventually failed, flunked out. They didn't want to do anything. And then when they were home, they didn't want to clean up. They didn't want to do nothing. That's how I remember it. Correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't want to clean. They didn't want to eat and clean up after. They couldn't even clean up after themselves. I mean, my thing was, listen, I don't mind helping out. I don't mind cooking for y'all, but someone's got to do something up here. Or if Lacey and I spent all day in doctors and therapists' office, y'all, if you cook for yourself, you at least clean up. You don't leave a kitchen piled with every fucking dish that was ever in the kitchen. But that's what they did, and they thought that was okay.
Well, they were teenagers, and again, you see what teenagers are doing right now. And the way we approached it is totally different from the way parents are approaching things now with their teenagers. We played hardball. We played hardball from day one. But it wasn't, it was a battle. It was a battle because they thought they were going to win, and they weren't going to win. So therefore,
Well, that was the other thing. Real quickly, I'll mention a story that, and I'm sure people are wondering, like, well, what did you do when they became semi-adults? Well, they wanted, you know what, here's what happened. Believe it or not, you see Lacey and I on Facebook, and you think, like, we're these wild hippies and shit like that, whatever. And we're really not. We're actually really conservative. We're very Christian. I don't know if you want. I think that's a stupid word. We're Christian. We have really high morals. We have values, and in those days we had our rules. And I think the bottom line was there's certain things you're not going to do that your friends are allowed to do. So those included, you're not going to have your girlfriend up here, and you're not going to sleep with her. You're not going to get high in your bedroom, and I got to pay for it. You don't have a job. You don't have a GED, but you're screwing your girlfriend and get high. No, that just wasn't going to happen, man. And basically, I still remember these conversations like it happened yesterday. You want to do that? Get the fuck out. Get a job. Pay your rent. Pay your electric bill. Then you can get high and screw your girlfriend all day long. Then I don't care. But you're not doing it in my house. Because Lacey and I weren't raised that way. And basically everybody, unless you were raised that way, that's what you know. Our reality was you do not bring your girlfriend home or your boyfriend home and you get the fuck all day long and get high and eat up all the food and you don't have a job or a GED. I mean, you might take the DOG for a walk once in a while, but that's not paying the bills. Listen, even when I was married twice. Each time I took my legally married Christian wife home, we didn't sleep. I didn't sleep with my wife in my bedroom. She slept in my bedroom. I slept down on the couch, because that's how conservative my family was. That's how we lived. That's how I was raised. That's how Lacey was raised. You don't get to screw your. I don't care. Maybe all were raised differently. You don't screw your wife even if you're legally married to her in your mother's house. You just don't do that. You can do that. You can do that 364 days out of the year at home. You know what? This is real, people. I mean, this is how we were raised. So, what? You 18, 19? You think you're gonna bring some little hoochie mama? She don't got a GED. She don't got a job. And you're gonna get high and y'all gonna get your groove on all day long, and nobody has a job. Nobody's paying for it. I don't know where you got the weed from. Anyway, that became a contention for you people wondering, what do you do when they become teenagers? We told them, if you don't want to abide by rules, get the fuck out. So one time we went somewhere, he and his girlfriend packed his shit, he left. Shardy did the same thing. He went over to his woman's house that was 10 years older than him. Go ahead, knock yourself out. I mean, she was paying her rent. She's 10 years older than you. Bottom line, go get high somewhere else. Let them buy you your Xbox games and your weed and your whatever. Hey, listen, I'm only saying that, you know what? If you want your children to run your household, you let them run your household, okay? Lacey and I, very conservative. We were raised differently. Her mother, my parents, very conservative. You just didn't do that. You can disagree with it. Because I can tell you that, had it became maybe a point, I'm trying to play Monday morning quarterback for 1 second, I might have left at that point. Because it got to be too much. It really got to be too much. I got to get up from the work day, and this guy's got 2 computers on, the TV on, and it's fucking 3 in the morning. You got to get the fuck out of here, dude. You don't got a job. You don't got a GU. No. I'm getting up in a couple hours for work. What the fuck are you doing?
But okay. So
I'm just saying, no.
I understand
you're taking me back a long.
But what I'm saying to you is that a lot of parents, like even on Facebook and even in some of these shows, how that is the norm for these young kids, and the parents don't know how to interject and say X, Y, and Z. But we had rules long before they
were teenagers, and at that point we had rules.
Very good. They were very good boys. They were very, very good boys.
They were great boys.
Once they got some ass, and they got a taste of that freedom outside, and that happens in a lot of families. It's not a reflection of myself, and it's not a reflection of you, because for so many years, how many kids have ran away to come to my house? And once they got into my house and we're with Miss Lacey, they saw Miss Lacey in a different light, because she's not the same. That's not the dance teacher we have.
I can comment on that. Yeah, and I forgot to add that.
She's not the same teacher. She's not the same person as she is when she's teaching. What's this? What's that? Now they want to leave because I'm this, and then they don't want to talk to me ever again, because when I let them come in my house because they were having problems with their parents for whatever reason, they were having their problems. When I said the rules in here, they looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah, after Simon Shardy decided that they were going to go and live with their women who were going to take care of them for a while until they got their own jobs. And then, you know what? They eventually got jobs. Don't get me wrong. Let me correct this. After a few months...
Well, they had to go through it to see.
They finally got jobs, and they paid their own way and got their own apartments and stuff like that. It took them a while to get through all that. But after they actually moved out and started to do their own thing... we had a few runaways, and then we had to go through the whole. I could tell you hours of going. Lacey and I made phone calls. We had to go visit people that couldn't even speak English, and we're gonna. If it's okay, we'll take care of. We'll let so and so live with us, and we'll do the best we can, and we'll let you know what's going on. Unfortunately, we have to let your child interpret because you can't speak English, and I can't really speak New York Spanish. I can speak, like, I can talk to people in Spain and Mexico and South American countries. I can't speak New York Spanish. I just can't. It's just different. And y'all know that all the that are New York Spanish people, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's if you've been to other countries, they speak different Spanish, and that's what I was taught. But anyway, we had a few runaways over the years, and again, they thought, like a lot of people did, we like these crazy hippies. We smoke weed all day, and you know, we take care of a disabled child, and
Which
cool.
Silk was in the midst of all of that.
And
all of that.
Once they came into our house and realized, oh shit, they're not playing, it became an issue.
It became an issue with relatives, the whole bit. Okay, we come stay with you. Okay. Yeah, but you got to do shit. You can't just. It's not just hanging out in here. We all work in here. You got to do stuff. But
we had a niece that had $200 jeans on, but didn't have a GED.
But anyway, so to end this.
I got a lot of stories like that. Lacey, get me going, man. If you start make me remember. No, but you know, it's a reality. Like my whole thing is like, I worked really hard for what, you know, whether I'm working now or I worked 20, 30 years ago. If I made $5 an hour, $10 an hour, or whatever I'm making as a city teacher right now, I worked really hard, man. And I appreciated every dollar. And I work just as hard for $5 an hour as I'm working now. And for you to wear $200 jeans and you don't got a GED, you know, and you got a baby and you getting high, no. And I'm paying for everything, no. And you don't want to follow the rules. We ask for simple things. Get your life together, take care of the baby. I mean, I remember one time, this child, she took off 3-4 days. And we taking care of a baby. Oh, don't get me started about taking care of other people's babies that weren't even mine. I got one child, Silk. But I've taken care of a lot of babies over the years. Newborns. I don't mean to yell, but I've taken care of a lot of newborns. What the fuck am I doing?
We've done our share.
I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could talk to my mother now.
We've done our share. So moving forward to end this off,
yes.
now we have, now Silk is 29. You said that. Now Silk is 29, and we still have some of the similar problems that we've had, or situations that we've had from when she was younger. Because of the 2005 coma, we have issues with processing. We see the long-term complications of how she processes things, and we were fully aware that the long-term complications were going to surface. So now she's 29. She's doing much, much better. There's a lot of things that she has improved in, but tends to forget when she has seizures, and we start all over again. So now that she is 29 and we are where we are right now, in space and time, one of the things that, you know, is a concern is that Silk is a social butterfly. She loves being out. She loves doing things. She loves people, but people don't seem to love her as much as she loves them, which we had this conversation. Silk is very innocent, she's very honest about her feelings. She's very honest about people. If she doesn't like you, we know what the deal is. You are dismissed. If she does like you, she'll give you 150% of this angel stuff she got. Right?
Sound like that.
What are your feelings on her at 29 years old and never having a friend?
Well, I mean, early on I counted on her brothers to be her friends, and that didn't happen. I counted on her godparents to be there once in a while, not all the time, because of location and distance. They weren't there.
And
parents, let me keep going. My parents were not there. They really weren't. My aunt, she wasn't there. And I can't blame her husband. he came in many years later. And in some ways, your family wasn't there either.
In some ways, no ways.
I'm trying to be really nice
Listen.
here. So basically, Silk is stuck with Lacey, Yoda, and myself. Yoda's the dog.
And Miss
And it's really
Doreen.
sad. Well, no, she has Miss Doreen. Miss Doreen has been an angel. And I will only say Miss Doreen. She's been there consistently. And, for some of you who have been here in and out, and you might be watching this, you've been there when it was convenient for you. You know that. And I'm not saying you were not, you were very nice to Silk, but being there more than once every couple months or once a year is what we're talking about. Doreen has been there. And it's really sad. I think it's a reflection on society. You guys want to talk about, whatever the politics is. I'm not even going to start about the politics. You guys want to be concerned about Donald Trump, Dr. Seuss, Shakespeare was a racist. You want to talk about all this other crap and shit. Listen, my daughter hasn't had a friend. Her family couldn't even be there for her. So she's kind of stuck with us all the time. And you know what? And there's some good people like, in Pennsylvania. Everybody, I can tell you this, every store that we go to, everybody knows Silk. They know her at the Dodge dealer. They know her at Food Town. They know her at Turkey Hill. They know her at Rainbow Mountain, right? Up in the Palisades Mall. The people that are still there from before the pandemic, they all know Silk. The people at Johnny Rockets. A lot of people know Silk, and I think she appreciates that they engage with her. But for the most part, she doesn't have any friends. She doesn't have any family. She's got Miss Doreen, Miss Lacey, and myself, who are there all the time. It's really sad, but it's a reflection of. It's not. Say Silk's gonna be fine, because she has the best of everything. Because we can take her to Vegas, we can take her to Hawaii. You know what? I'll sacrifice some money. I'll borrow the money. I'm gonna make sure Silk's gonna have a good time. A human connection would be nicer, but because people have made choices in their life, that's what it is. And there's nothing more. They made choices, and either they don't give a shit, or they made choices and they just don't care. Be that as it may. And you know what? Other than this conversation, I try not to think about all that because it's just too much. It's just a reflection of how selfish motherfuckers are. All you is about you being gay, you being, you're leading your life, you doing this, you doing that, whatever the case may be. Oh, you this, you're gonna protest for this group. That's all well and good. You could have been Silk's friend once in a while. Especially her family. At least her cousins, you know what? And only because a lot of her cousins are in North Carolina, they love Silk to death. And you know what? I understand they don't have the financial means always to be traveling to New York City or Pennsylvania. I get that. And Lacey and I, we've been there, and Lacey's been there more than me because I'm usually working, but she's been there more than me, and they love Silk to death. And they will be friends and family when they see Silk. But they got their own issues too.
But she has family here. She has a whole slew of cousins that, when you look at all these events that are on Facebook that the family used to post.
Oh,
Silk and I are not in. Silk is not in any of them at 29 years old. And when we do post things on Facebook, or if I happen to go off a little bit, that means somebody triggered something.
Well, you're talking about like the family picnics that were held right in front of our building in Crotona Park, and Silk wasn't invited. You weren't invited. And I certainly wasn't invited. Every cousin And we're not talking 3 cousins, people. We're talking about what, 15, 20 cousins? And the biggest problem was that they had a problem with Lacey. Because someone told them, let me use the white word, erroneous stories. And usually the erroneous stories come out of the fact that they didn't get the motherfucking way. They didn't get over whatever the shit was. So Silk wasn't invited. Lacey wasn't invited. I certainly wasn't invited. And I just think that's a sad reflection. And you know what? Let's go back to, let's not blame the cousins. Let's blame their friends. Y'all were raised by Della. Della was raised with class.
Okay.
No, y'all became a bunch of... No, honestly, we're talking about people that you were raised right and you chose to be fucking ghetto. Come on, Lacey, we've talked about this for years. They chose to be ghetto and they raised their kids to be ghetto. And ghetto means I'm only going to listen to some other's bullshit story because I like that bullshit story. And I never liked Miss Lacey anyway. She was always mean to us. No, she took care of your ass because your parents, when you were babies, couldn't take care of you or didn't want to. And Miss Lacey took care of you. I've seen all the pictures and the videos. You know, and you lived them. That's the reality. If you don't want to accept the reality, if the reality in your mind is something else, so be it. But I could go on for 3 more hours about your parents and how ghetto they were. Because they were ghetto. Because their mother did not teach them to be that way. That's what I do know. You know, my family's a whole different thing. They were in another state, but they fucked up too. My oldest sister, I love her to death. And I used to have the greatest time partying with Karen, man. She was the original Karen. But Karen's idea of being helpful was, I got a credit card.
Yeah.
Let's go shopping. I mean, my sister had money and she didn't care. The one thing I loved about Karen was that she'd spend her money, man. She spent her money on you. She spent her money on me. And she'd buy a brand, she'd buy a car, she'd buy you clothes, she'd buy herself clothes. But that's what her idea of bonding with you was. Let's go spend the credit
That's
card.
what she said to me.
That's what she said. Can't hate that. I didn't know anybody in Lacey's family ever had a credit. I didn't know anybody have a credit card. Oh shit! Did I hit a nerve? Or maybe y'all have credit cards now.
Well, everybody's doing
But
exceptionally
not that
well.
we needed your money. Because you know what? I have paid for Silk and Lacey my whole 30 years. That's what I know. I paid for Simon Shardy in the beginning. I paid for everything. So I didn't need anybody's make-believe credit card if they had one. I didn't need all that. I just wanted you to make a phone call and be a friend. That's all. Take care of your boy, Harpo. Take care of your boys. Call them. I know you lived in Nevada. Call your boys. You had years to do that. You didn't. You didn't do shit. You came to New York every single year. You didn't do shit with them. You can be poor. You can be broke. You can be a good person. You can be family. You can spend time with people. That's what it's about. At the end of the day, most people, you know, I know some people over the years, they didn't have a pot to piss in. Depending on me to buy them drugs for the day. But you know what? They spent time with my daughter and they were good people. Silk appreciated. We got the pictures. We got the videos. And they didn't say, oh, I used to work with people like Silk. No, well, you didn't work because we never really had a job, but that's a whole different story. You're here with Silk right now. And Silk remembers that. She can see you on video right now, 30 years later. I know that person. So going forward, for those of you that got younger people, here's the bottom line. Your family can be family whether they got money or not. They can make a phone call, they can visit, and they can be aunties, godparents to your children. You can have your family spend time with you and with them. Okay? And you can make the decision that I'm going to take care of my child. I'm not going to let some bullshit system take care of him. Because I don't want to hear couple years from now, oh, I put them in a home and they got raped or they got physically abused, they got bruises all over the body. Then fuck you, man. You already heard this. You made that decision. You don't have a life. This is what God gave you, man. That's really the bottom line. Accept what God gave you. And maybe you come back and being reincarnated and you'll be Beyonce or Jay-Z or whoever you're going to be. I don't know. Maybe you'll be somebody famous. But you know what? This is what you got dealt. These are the cards dealt at the poker table. Mm-hmm. Either keep playing the game or don't. But if you get out, you better really get out and just disappear. Because nobody wants to hear your bullshit boohoo stories later on. It's just not acceptable.
Because everybody gets a turn.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's always going to come up. You're always going to get a turn.
So
You're always going to hear a fucked up story somewhere down the line.
So we're talking about fucked up. This is my last question to the dude, because I know you're very honest and sometimes you get very, very brutal. Me. That's all I can say. Me. Lacey. What is the
Well, having been married before and in a couple of very serious relationships, I've been with Lacey 30-some years. She'll say it, I'll say it. It hasn't been easy. No, it hasn't been. All the stuff that went with everything I talked about earlier, there's a lot more to those stories. And they weren't fun. They involved the police, they involved prosecution, they involved being jailed, they involved ACS, they involved a lot of shit that wasn't really our fault. Did Lacey bring it on? Had she let everybody walk all over them, nothing would have happened. Had she maybe taken Harpo's name and called herself Lacey Nieves, maybe she would have had more props back in the days. Because now they think of, oh, you Spanish? You have Spanish? Because there's a lot of Spanish people that don't speak Spanish. Okay? There was a whole generation that didn't learn Spanish. And they 100% Puerto Rican, 100% Dominican, because I know them personally. There was a whole generation, and that's another whole story, but had life been easier if Lacey made different choices? Sure. Had she let her children walk all over her? Her family walk all over her? Sure. Things would have been a lot easier. So I would probably say a lot of our problems, maybe, I don't want to call them problems, they were just, well, I would say this. Well, what did I say, Lacey, to you a lot of times? I didn't ask for this. I'm not from this. I wasn't born into all this. I'm not from all this. I mean, my family's dysfunctional, but I didn't think it was this dysfunctional. I've never disagreed with a choice Lacey made. Were the consequences really fucked up and bad at times? Sure they were. But I made a commitment to her and Lacey a long time ago. And I made a commitment to the boys. The boys decided that they didn't want to be part of it anymore. So I'm going to let that go. I have nothing more to say to either one of them, to be honest with you. And that's very regretful. Because we could have had a lot of fun over the years. But I'm not going back. Because right now, in terms of the boys, I don't trust either one of them. Based on a lot of stuff I didn't even talk about today. Lacey, she made decisions, and I will really say, I think she made the best decisions with a lot of stuff that turned out to be really fucked up. She made the best decisions at the time. Because had she not made those particular decisions, it probably could have been playing Monday morning quarterback could have been a lot fucking worse. And like I said, I made a commitment, and I stayed here just for that reason.
So
it hasn't been no, Lacey, you know it hasn't been easy.
No, it hasn't been easy, but when you talk about decisions, I've made a lot of decisions based on the well-being of Silk, because everybody that was in our circle or came in our circle or surrounded by our circle were not, their interest was not the well-being of Silk, because Silk was retarded.
Well, yeah,
Silk
no,
was-
that's
Silk
something I
doesn't
did.
know
No,
any-
you're absolutely
Silk
right.
doesn't know anybody. So decisions that I made for family
We're based on
were
Silk.
based on
Because here, at the end of the day, Simon Shardy can take care of themselves. And we're just talking about our own nuclear family. Simon Shardy, very, very intelligent, very, very creative. And at the end of the day, they can survive and always take care of themselves and become millionaires if they wanted to. All right? There's nothing wrong with them other than the fact that their father let them down and they're psychologically fucked up because of that. They may disagree with me. You know what? You tell that to your father. He wasn't there. I was there. And you took it out on me, end the story. But the decision you made, yeah, were based on the fact that we are responsible, or we are still responsible. We were responsible. We are still responsible for taking care of herself, because she can't take care of herself. And nobody in the family, and nobody in terms of boyfriends and girlfriends or whatever, ever took Silk's best interests into account. You're absolutely right about that, and I completely forgot about that. And so the decision you made were to protect Silk and make sure that the best outcome would benefit Silk. So you're absolutely right. That's why I don't disagree with you on that though. I didn't like all the stuff that happened, and we all know what we all went through, but based on that, no, that makes a...
But in order to get through it, because we didn't know that all that stuff was going to be on our plate, because we didn't live like that. We didn't live like all that drama that came into our house. That was all shocking to us, because that's not how we lived. But there was a way that you had to handle it, and let me say this for the camera and for parents out there, as a parent, as a mother of sons. I have to say this. As a mother of sons, we are women. We know how we are. We know what we can do. I always educated my sons and kept it raw. You know I did. Everything, detail, detail, detail. You still cannot change the choices that they make in their life for who they want to spend their time with. But you can make a choice as to what happens around you with those choices that they make. I was not pleased with the choices that they made. How they made those choices, and with the influence of these girls or these swamp rats, I call them swamp rats, who had no upbringing, who had no culture, who had no relationship, no family relationship, because when they came in like they owned it, like they owned my space. Wrong answer, woman to woman. But most women would say, "Oh, but that's my son. I love my son." And listen, the family court, the grandbabies, all that shit was something that I didn't even have a clue about. I didn't even see that coming. When people have grandchildren, they're happy, they're excited, they're this, that, and the other. That wasn't the case for us. It wasn't the case for us, because nobody saw Silk. Everybody thought we were grandparents,
including the system.
Including the system. Everybody thought
because we were told, let's go back to what was really real. We were told at one point, we said we have a severely disabled child. We cannot take care of our grandchild because their parents are incapable of doing it right now. And ACS told us, because they were Spanish and the girl was Spanish. I mean, this is let's make it a race thing, because that's what it was. They took her back. And they said, if you don't take care of this child right now, if you give up the baby, we're gonna take your child away from you. That's what we were told. So here we were taking care of a Spanish girl's child that had nothing to do with us. I mean, and I have to put it that way, because people, if you're offended by the fact that I'm bringing up the Spanish thing, it's the fact that all the ACS workers were Spanish. They took the girls back. They didn't even consider Silk. And that's what the whole point of this particular segment is, that no one considered that Silk was severely disabled and required 24/7 assistance. They just thought it would be easy, that we should take care of a basically fucking newborn. That's what they said. Or they were taking our child too. And maybe there's some black people or some white people on ACS, maybe the shit would have gone down differently. And let's listen. This is 2021. It's all about race right now. Let's be very real what we're talking about.
But the thing is, the case wasn't against us. The case was against her. That's
Yeah.
the case.
She lied. She lied in court. She didn't have a. All right.
The hospital took her baby.
You know.
And then they turned around and told the baby that we kidnapped him. So the choices that were made specifically to protect Silk, because nobody was protecting Silk. And we were the bad people for protecting a retarded child.
And then, to be honest
Right?
with you, without going through everything that went on over the years, this shit went on
Years.
for years. It went on with the oldest boy and his women, and then it went on with the youngest one and his women. We had to petition the youngest boy's woman took off the one that was 10 years older than him. She took off and went to Florida with the baby. Oh, mommy. I can't see my child. So what do we do? Now we're in family court, civil court, trying to get the baby back from Florida. What the fuck? Like we had nothing better to do. I didn't even have time to smoke, do drugs. There was too much going on all the time. Not that I did drugs, but I'm just saying I would have liked to have done drugs. But I'm just saying the point was like we're spending time taking care of a newborn, the oldest ones, and then we're trying to get the youngest one's kid back from Florida. Believe me. And the stories go on and on for years and fucking years. So no, we were never grandparents. No. I don't even listen. I won't even friend either one of them on Facebook. I don't want to be bothered. The feelings inside of me are so sad. And it's not like you say, well, you talk about raising your kids. Yeah, we did raise Simon and Shardy right. We did. They made a choice. They were beings of free will that made choices. And they got let me just shut up. I just shut up. No, because we didn't have to go to jail. Nobody had to go to jail on a repeated basis because of these people. Nobody had to do any of that. It just could have been so different.
But
And so now I don't know who. I raised my grandson for 13 months. Haven't seen him since. I don't have a clue who he is. My granddaughter, don't have a clue who she is. I see pictures and I'm like, that could be anybody's. I got friends in California. I know their kids better than I know them. That's the reality, man.
But that's a choice. Again, we're talking about choices. That's a choice we made to back off, and that's why I wanted to do this segment with you because, and I have to elaborate on it. I got a text yesterday. Silk and I, we're still working on Silk's Angels in the Zone, trying to do programs up here, and just stay in touch with people, and because she needs that. She needs that. We're talking about progress here. We need to keep her progressing on any level that we possibly can. And now with the pandemic going on, Zoom is the only way that she can have a social interaction with people without getting sick, because we know what the consequences are if Silk gets sick. We already been through that. We're not even gonna get on that subject about, I have to use the word them. They didn't get to them yet, so that's another story. But we posted, right, Silky? We posted our Sister to Sister Connect that we're gonna start doing Friday, just to have some people come on where she can be involved and make her little gestures and sounds or whatever, but she's connected. And somebody, just like years ago, you remember I used to get those texts where people would curse me out and then all of a sudden the text is gone.
Yeah.
So yesterday, while we were waiting for Roxy, I was checking out my phone and I got a text about the Sister to Sister Connect, that I need to get my life together or check myself, because you don't even deal with your own sisters. Why would you do something like that? So I got really fucking tight because they mentioned that you use Silk on social media, and she ain't doing all that. Now, you know,
I'll be right
you
there. Go
know
ahead.
that
I'm
was-
listening.
you know that was the wrong fucking move. So it had to come from. There goes Silky. There goes Silky. Silky, you say hi. You was playing the piano. She was playing her piano. Let's wait till he comes back. See, she got her piano, and she got her keys. She got her iPad up here. Look, she got all her keys. The dude had to take a bathroom run, and this is where she comes in and does her piano every day. She got her little headphones right here, so she'll sit here independently and she'll play. Oh, the key, it's off. You turned it off? Did Daddy turn it off?
No, it turns off automatically.
turns
You got
off
to turn it back on.
So anyway, we're doing
Suki, here.
we're doing
Mommy.
we're doing a sister to sister connect. Just trying to reach out to some people that Silk sees on the videos. Oh, there it is.
There you go, Suki.
So you gonna play? You don't want to play? You want to listen? You listening?
You on the video with us? Okay.
So that's what we decided to do to boost our spring events that we're going to be doing up here. Hopefully, once we get this young lady gets back to me with the dance studio. So we wanted to do the sister to sister connect so she can see some of the people that that she sees on the video. If they want to come in, they're more than welcome to come in. It's not mandatory. Just people trying to get together. So somebody wrote that, and what I did was I read it, and then it disappeared.
Well, let me speak to that person.
Wait. And then it disappeared. But then to make the comment on what Silk can do and what Silk can't do, and this, that, and the other, all that other stuff about whether I have a relationship with my sisters and this, that, and the other, they chose not to deal with me. And this is not because Silk was born. This was happening long before Silk was born. This is when I was a kid. And I'm cool with that. But to mention her and come off, I figured that it had to be somebody in the family. And it made me very, very, very tight. And I went to, another voice. And I was trying to drive and listen to music and sing and stuff like that. But I'm like, people tend to, they know that we exist. They know that she exists. I'm talking about family, friends, or family acquaintance or whatever. People that know us, that spent time with us, that done things with us, that went on trips with us, that did all kinds of things with us, came to our events, got free shit, whatever. It could be any one of those people. But something clicked when it said, you're not cool. How you going to do a sister to sister? How you promoting empowerment and sister? You don't even deal with your own sisters. So that's what ticked me off and had me very, very tight for a few minutes. And
So let me touch on that note because I got a couple of thoughts about that. Whole thing about family. Listen, let me go back. I can speak for Lacey because her mother asked her this question, but her mother doesn't have to ask her this question because she already knows the answer. But my mother asked me this question when she's still cognitive because she was dying of cancer. And she asked me why her daughters were never her friends. She thought that she would have friends as adults. And her daughters, neither one of them ever became her friends. And I said, Mommy, I said, no, I didn't ever call her Mommy. I called her Mom. She was always Mom. She was never Mommy. Lacey calls her mother Mommy. I don't call her Mom. She was Mom. I said, the bottom line is, I said, you know what? If they weren't blood, I wouldn't like either one of them as people. That's really the bottom line. I don't. I said I knew Karen before she met Mark Kajak, who's a big CEO at Air Products right now. And he's actually, I hold him responsible for my sister's death at 43 and a half. And be that as it may, anybody listed on Air Products, that's your big CEO, the big man on campus. He's a great engineer. He did a lot for Air Products, but he's a fucked up asshole individual. Suzanne, she made her choices in her life. And you know what? I have friends that I work with across the country. Some of them are teachers with me. I know them a lot better than my last surviving sister. I don't dislike her. I just don't know you after all these years. And after a conversation a few months ago, you know what? I got to step back, man. You know, if you hear I'm dying again, don't call me. No, seriously. I'm gonna say what my shit is, because when it comes to your sisters, here's the bottom line. You were there for Duchess. When her husband was drugging her to death out in Ann Arbor, you went out there and took Silk out there, once again, dragging Silk out there to save her house, moved all her shit from fucking Michigan to Pennsylvania. Then she moved in here, took advantage of Clark. All right? Let's call it what it is. When your sister became a crackhead, you went in there, you took care of her. We cleaned out that fucking roach-infested house because I was there with you for all that. Okay? Those are your sisters. They never did shit for you. What did they do? Nothing. And I'm not even talking about Chubby and Butch, okay? You know what? I always liked Chubby and Butch. I always liked them. You know? But you're talking about sister to sister? No. And then your nieces? No. You have friends, not blood, that you're much closer to. That's really the bottom line. So whoever had that comment is stuck in their head, and they don't know shit. Now, to bring Silk into the equation, now either you are family and you're really fucked up because you would actually bring Silk into this conversation, or you're somebody loosely, you kind of know Lacey and you don't have any children, so you don't know what it's like to be a mother or a father, so you feel you can say fucked up shit like that. That's where all that comes from. Now, if some people are offended out there, hey, be offended. This is how we see it. Y'all haven't been there. And to bring Silk into any equation is simply wrong. But if that's the best you can do in life, you're just a loser. You're an absolute loser, because that's what you're about. You either don't have children, you've never been a mother or father, or you are in the family, and that makes it even worse. Now, Lacey, you got a different comment? That's how I feel about it. I don't know. I don't see it any other way. I don't see it any other way.
I don't see it any other way either. But that's the way of whoever it is or whoever they are. That's their way of checking up on us, because I don't reach out to anybody. I do not talk to anybody. I do not reach out to anybody except my mother and my brother Butch. And I don't care about anybody. I'm very, very numb when it comes to that situation, because we were not raised that way. We were not raised to be in 2021 not speaking to each other for whatever reason. I don't even know what the reason is on their part, but I know what my reason is. And my reason is that for 29 years, my sisters have not stepped up to the plate for my daughter. When before my daughter was born, I had every last one of their kids. I was always there because that's how I was raised.
And their kids' babies.
Because that's how I was raised, and that's what my mother. That's how my mother was with everybody.
We had your niece and your niece's baby for about what, 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah,
we were there. Listen, talk about sister Lacey and I. Listen, they were my sister-in-laws. I would have done anything for them, but it became quickly apparent over time that they were fucked up. They took, and then they took from there, and then they continued to take from their mother. Take, never give back. Never give back. Come on, you got to do better. So you want to talk about, you know who Lacey's sisters are? Her immediate friends that are not blood. That's really the bottom line. Now, y'all think that's fucked up. No, it's not fucked up. It's the reality, dude. Y'all got this shit in your own family. That's really what's going on. This is your family too. Admit what it is and move on. We're just putting it on Facebook. We're just putting it on YouTube. That's all. We're talking about a lot of things, but to bring in, it's one thing bringing up Lacey's relationship with her sisters and her family. It's another thing bringing Silk into it. For you to do that, you're a lowlife. You're an absolute lowlife. And I hope you're man enough or woman enough to come to my face and say, because I'd really like to punch you in the face just on GP. Because that, you know your shit was wrong. Silk has nothing to do with anybody. Silk has nothing to do with nobody. And even to this day, if she's met a bunch of you losers, she'd still show you love. Because that's the kind, she's from God. You, on the other hand, let me choke on my spit right now. That's fucked up. You know that was fucked up. But that's the kind of person you are. You're a lowlife. You're a loser. And you know you are. Because that's the best comment you can come up with right now. Or the other day with Lacey. That's the best you could come up with. Wow. What do they say, those old California movies? Loser!
Well, I just, wanted to, Silk saw my face because she knows when I change. She saw my face, and I just explained to her why I was looking the way I was looking and why I felt the way that I felt, because all I'm trying to do is to give her a social environment in the midst of this pandemic, because this pandemic is not over, and a lot of the things that we're used to doing, we're not going to be able to do for fear of health issues and safety issues. So, Zoom is, we're living in the time of the Jetsons, which I explained that to her. And just for the record, so those people out there that are confused about what she does and what she can do, it's really none of your fucking business. But she does a lot more than most people think that she does, and she lives a lot more than most people live. There's a lot of people that live in their silence. I don't live in my silence because I think, I believe in what I go through with Silk and how we survive this world of different, and how we survive this world of racism, and how we survive this world of diversity or non-diversity. We live it every day. We've been fighting for it for the longest. Even before Silk was born, I was fighting for diversity, inclusion, respect. Because I grew up in the 60s. I went to an all-white school. I was one of those black kids that were bust to a white school where they did Kill the Nigger Day. I know about all that. And then to now hear that, things like, we don't get this because we Spanish. We don't get this because we're gay. We don't get this because we're trans. We don't get this because, with this, with that. She don't get shit if I don't fight for it. She does not get shit if
she doesn't even get family support, let alone anything from the system.
Okay.
So what do y'all know? So listen, the only people, and this is going back, let's go back to where we started out with. What's it like to be a parent of a child with different abilities or severe disabilities? The bottom line is, I hope your experience, if you got young ones, I hope your experience is much better than ours. I hope your family is a little bit more supportive and understanding. But if they don't have a child with disabilities, different abilities, whatever you want to call them, they're not going to understand. And after a certain amount of time, maybe they'll be very helpful and very supportive, and then maybe they won't be. But don't be surprised. The bottom line at the end of the day, it's either going to be you and your husband that are going to take care of your child, and that's what you decide to do, regardless of your brothers and sisters, your parents, or anybody else. His parents, your whatever it's going to be. You're going to be doing this alone. You're going to be making this. You're going to be making a sort of like, I don't want to say a comeback. You're gonna be praying a lot that God guides you. Now, if you don't believe in God, I don't know what to really tell you, because I don't know how you would get through this otherwise. Maybe the Buddha will help you. Kali will help you. Whatever you believe in, something will help you out. Allah will help you. Whatever you pray to, but you're gonna need something else to get you through this, because our experience has been family hasn't been the most supportive. and you just hear what Lacey telling me about this comment of if that was a family member or a friend member, we don't really get a lot of support. We almost got little to no support, other than the person we mentioned, Doreen, and Danny, my teacher, Danny. Other than a people we can name on one handful, this is your journey, and you're either gonna do it because God gave you this job, and this is your job. And just let the family go. I went off on about a bunch of people and about a bunch of shit, and you know what? If they take it personally because they listen today, hey, you know what? Take it personally. You know you didn't do shit. You know you didn't do nothing over the last 30 years, so you went a different direction. But the bottom line is that we're doing this ourselves, and you know what? And
there are a lot of parents out there, because I'm online with a lot of parents that are walking this journey by themselves without a husband or a daddy or family members. They are going through it by themselves. I speak to them, regularly, and I'm very raw with a lot of stuff. And the one thing that they say to me, oh my God, Miss Lacey, I wish I can get to that point. Well, when you become very, very numb, when you've been through a lot, and I have no shame in what I've been through, and it was a learning experience because it allowed me to make a choice to cut people off, to get people out of my way, because I have things that I need to do, and I need to make sure that Silk gets to do the things that she needs to do. But there are a lot of parents out here. There are a lot of parents that have differently abled children, adults, whatever, that have been going through it for years, and that that will cry to me on the phone, and oh, I don't know, I can't take this anymore, this, that, and the other. And I'm just gonna leave y'all with this one story that really broke my heart, because that kind of helped me back in 2005 to make the decision that I made to cut family and to cut everybody off. Because when my daughter was in a coma, nobody came to visit her. Her brothers came one time when she came out of the coma, but during that time, I spent those months in that hospital next to my daughter's bedside, holding her hand, doing her nails. Princess Janae came and she hung out with me, and my cousin Cookie came, Penny came, my cousin Penny came, but other than that, there was no one else that came. No one called. They didn't know if she was alive or dead. They didn't know what was going on. Moving forward on that one, I had a friend that worked in the hospital, Michaela. She had an autistic son. You remember Michaela, the skinny girl that used to do the cleaning in the room? She had an autistic son, and she and I became very good friends. She used to come upstairs and keep me company on her breaks. We would have lunch, and we would talk about, our children and, the future and this, that, and the other. And Michaela was struggling because she was working, and she had to make sure that her son would be taken care of. And the father, she was having problems getting the father to take him while she worked, and this, that, and the other. Her sisters, her brothers, her mom, her this, that, and the other. She had so many problems, and we talked about it for a long time. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in the ICU in Montefiore Children's Hospital with my daughter for months by myself, with no one to talk to, no one to, besides the dude, no one to release whatever I was feeling. Not sure if my daughter was coming back, if she was going to survive this or anything like that. I mean, they even told us to speak to the clergy, right? They wanted us to make preparations and stuff like that. So it was a really, really hard time. But Michaela was the one that really helped me ground myself on what's really important. Make a long story short, a few years ago, there was a news report on television of this mother that shot her autistic son in the head and killed herself. Murder suicide. And I was reading it, and the first thing that came to my mind was, I get it. I didn't feel anything else, but I get it. Not knowing who that person was, I found out a month later that it was Michaela. And the way that I found out was that they let all the parents that, used to go to the support group, know that it was her and this, that, and the other. Michaela never, there was no signs, but I know she was very unhappy, very struggling, you know, trying to do the best for her son and give him the best and this, that, and the other. But she had no family support. None. At her funeral, that was the topic of the last support group. At her funeral, she had a 20-car procession.
Yeah.
20 cars. 20. Okay? Where did all these people come from? Where were all these people when she needed them? And she took...
Because you're not supposed to get to the point...
No.
Where if you have a family that's big, you're not supposed to get to the point where you feel like your only option is to kill your son and to kill yourself because you know no one else is going to help you out. That's the worst story. The only other story that's equally as bad is that your friend who lived not too far from us.
Her son?
Yeah.
Her son killed her and chopped her head off, yeah.
Yeah, her son, she was raising another disabled child, and because he was locked up for some other reason, he got out of jail, came out, killed her, chopped up her body, and left it in the garbage in the projects. That's just as bad, because he was jealous of the fact that she took care of, she had some issues raising him. Or no, the system took him, right?
Yeah.
And then he ended up in jail. Yeah.
No, they released him at 21.
Yeah, they released him at 21. And
back to her. He was damaged. They released damaged goods to her.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, and again, I think what Lacey and I are trying to tell the new parents out there, don't, listen, you've got yourself. And if you don't have a partner, whether it's a husband or a wife, and you're by yourself, then, I mean, hey, you can always reach out to Lacey and I. We'll be your friends and we'll be your family. We've done it for 30 years.
It's an ugly journey
and
when
it's,
you're by yourself.
And hopefully it's not, you know, maybe I really hope and I pray for everybody that their journey is going to be a lot better. But you can reach out to us. I'll get up at 2 a.m. with you and talk with you if that's what we really need to do, because that's what I do. I don't really sleep at all, as I said earlier. I don't sleep 8 hours.
You and I talk a lot. We talk a lot. We
you know what? We're there for the new parents, and I'm just hoping and praying that your experience with your family will be a lot better. But if it isn't, your job is to pray to God. You can call us, and you got to pray a lot, and you got to do the best you can. Because this is your child.
Excuse me.
Your child only has you. And you know what? You either step up to the plate, and I hate to put it that way, you either step up and really, really, you know what? Like I said, you can reach out to Lacey and myself, and I mean, we'll listen to you and we'll talk to you as much as you need to talk. That's all I can say. I will offer that. I offer that to anybody, day or night. I'll get up at 2 a.m. and talk with you if that's what we need to do. Because Lacey and I have been there. Lacey's been there, and it's a reality. Hopefully you'll have a better experience. I'm praying you have a better experience. But if you don't, at least you say, hey, I saw these people, man. Maybe I can call them. Yeah, you can. You can. As long as I'm alive and I can speak. I'm not in the hospital. I was in the hospital a couple years ago. I'll speak to you, man. You know? And even then, I didn't sleep in the hospital, so I would have talked to you in the hospital. That's all.
So with that being said, I really appreciate you spending this time, and, you know, we finally getting it out, and maybe that gives folks some clarity of who we are and what we're about and what you cannot do, because the wrath is very, very ugly. If we have to go towards a wrath. But it's so important that, you know, when you have these situations behind the situations going on, to keep them bottled in and not being able to express yourself, not necessarily trying to offend anybody or hurt anybody's feelings, but facts are facts. Truth is truth, and everybody has their own truth, and my truth is documented. So it's not like, you know, I'm just talking from the top of my head. If I had to prove myself, I can put on a video of 30, 40 years ago of what we did, who we did it for, and why we did it. And we did it because those are the kind of people that we are. We love helping, but when you start to take advantage, and you use certain tools to get over, you're dealing with the wrong people.
And then at the end of the day, I'm still going to go back to what Lacey said earlier. If you can't take Silk into account, and the best you can do is use her as an attack, you know what? We're going to come for you, okay? In terms of, we're going to say what we got to say on social media. And anybody out there that listens to this and you're offended, you know what? You should be offended. You know what you didn't do, and you know the fucked up comments you made over these years. And you know what? Lacey and I, we took care of our family financially. We took care of ourselves socially and emotionally the best we knew how. And we're still doing it. And if you're offended, that's because you didn't do shit. You know you didn't do shit. You know? And I'm not taking anything back. No, I got nothing from no one over the years. The last 40 years has been on me. Okay? But Lacey and I both did that way. We took care of ourselves. And like I said, those of you who are new at this, you're more than welcome to call. And I'll give you the best support I can and the best positive reinforcement, because it maybe doesn't have to be that way for you. You know, but you need somebody to listen to you. Yeah. And you don't want to, I mean, God bless Michaela and her son. You don't ever want to get in that position. And you certainly don't want your son to come home and chop you up and put you in a bunch of garbage bags and put you out on the side of the road. That's either one is just as bad. But that's a reality. That's the world we're living in. And you know what, family? Hey, you're only family by blood. You're not family because you tried. You're not family because you gave. And you're not family because you helped out. Because you didn't. Okay? You know, like Lacey says, oh, you don't really talk. No, I don't. I have a couple really good friends that aren't even family. I talk to them on a regular basis. They're good people. They got their own issues. And some of their issues are just as bad or even worse.
And what do you want to share about Silk's feelings from what you get from Silk?
Well, Silk knows that her mother and dad love her to death. She knows that we do more than 100% all the time for her. And if she could speak,
which we are
she would probably be just as nice as she is now. Because as far as I'm concerned, Silk is the pure essence of God living with us right now. And my grandmother on my dad's side, she was like that. Maybe she has a lot of Grandma Kozacek in her. Because my grandmother Kozacek was a saint. She really was. And
is that right,
Silky? Silky is pure love. And you know what? A lot of you... And you know what? Even if she could speak, she'd probably say, listen, this is what you feel about me. That's okay. I still love you. I'm going to give you a hug and a kiss. And Silk would probably hold nothing against you. You know? But meanwhile, Lacey and I have to take care of her.
And we have to protect her
from everybody.
From the world. Because Silk is not the one that has the different ability. The world is the one that has the different ability. And
something like that,
and speaking on that different ability, my extra. Do you find me to be extra? And we will close with that. With your final thought on Miss Lacey.
No, you know what? I don't you know, some of these terms I'm losing contact with a lot of these modern terms.
Well, you know what
contemporary terms, but no, as I said earlier, you do the best with what you can. You try to be as creative as you can. You try to do the best you can for Silk. And if you can steal a few moments for yourself to do something, I think nobody, including me, I don't hold nothing against you. I try to give you every opportunity to have your moments to yourself. You know that. Extra? No, nobody's extra. I don't even think we know what the term extra is. Our extra is taking a few minutes, and I really mean that, people. Taking a few minutes to do ourselves. You see, this is my work here. This is I write poetry. This is my free time, is my poetry. This is my extra. Lacey likes doing her videos. She likes doing her dance. And she probably could have done a lot more over the years had she been single and by herself. Lacey had a full scholarship to UCLA to dance before she gave birth to Siam. Maybe she would have been a famous choreographer in Hollywood all these last 35 years or 40 years. She gave it up for Psy. She gave it up for Shardy. And she sacrificed a lot for Silk. So extra now. Extra just means we're taking a couple minutes out of our lives to do something for ourselves personally so we keep from losing our motherfucking minds. That's what it is. No. We're not saints. Listen, we told you that earlier. We're not saints. It's hard doing what we do with Silk every day. But we get up and we do the same. Sometimes it's the same thing every day. Get up, you got to go to the bathroom, you got to brush your teeth, you got to go and you got to set your tray up for breakfast. You got to eat breakfast, you got to clean up your table. I mean, we do the same thing. And if Lacey can show you some of Silk's drawings. I love these drawings. Now, some of you that know art, you might know the famous artist Cy Twombly. I think if Cy Twombly was still here or could see these, he would say, oh my gosh, I wish I was so natural. He created what he did, which it looks almost like Silk's work. Or her work looks exactly like his. But here's the difference. Cy Twombly was perfectly functional and made certain choices to create art like this. This is what Silk's brain does. And I framed them because it's meaningful to me. There's 3 here, there's 3 there. I got stuff all over the house. This is very meaningful to me. I can look at these all day long. And so it's just a matter, like I said, extra now. Taking a couple moments to make yourself sane, make yourself just do something a little different. Because we're not, even at the end of the day, we are 24/7 caregivers, but we have to do something so we can be healthy spiritually, physically, and emotionally for Silk. And if we don't do that little bit for ourselves, we can't do it for Silk either. So extra now, you're not extra. I'm not extra. It might look like extra to other people, it might look like issues, but no. That's just keeping ourselves a little bit sane, that's all. So we can make sure the rest of the day, the other 23 and a half hours are for Silk, right?
Is that
right?
Yes.
High five?
High five.
All right.
So in closing,
thank you for listening. I hope somebody got something from this, and if you didn't, that's okay. If you have a comment, listen, if you want to get my number personally, you can text Lacey. She can, if she knows you. And if you don't know her, tell her who I am, who you are. I listened to your video broadcast. I would like to be in contact with you. In the event that the phone call becomes out of control, fucked up, I'll just block you. So will Lacey. No, I blocked a lot of. Listen, I blocked some people on Facebook, and they went after me. They went after my job. They went after my family. And you know what? So, be that as it may, I'm okay. I'll be okay. But like I said, I will be there. I have promised, Lacey and I, we will take your phone call. And we will take your phone call. And but make sure it's a legit. Just so listen, you're honest. You come from the heart. I can't do nothing for you financially. I can be there 2 a.m, 6 a.m. I can listen to you and give you the best advice I can. So can Lacey. But I think the most important thing that's even more valuable than money and anything I can financially do for you is to listen to you, because I know, Lacey knows, we didn't have that. The only person that really listened to us over the years was Danny and Doreen. Anybody else you want to name?
Nope.
There it is.
They don't judge us.
No.
They don't judge us.
Danny and Doreen's been there. So, and we're careful.
Apollonia says, thank you so very much for this interview. Wait a minute. Let me just read some of the comments up here. We got a lot of comments.
Oh,
On
do the
Facebook.
comments.
I'll do the comments for you. And, oh my God, there's a lot of people. Oh, Janelle Joseph was watching. She's from dance class. Kim, hey, what's up? Kim was watching. I don't know if they were still there because we've been on for a while. Kim says, hi, dude. And then she says, we love her. And I don't know what LOP means, but she wrote LOP and says, nothing like living at home with a disabled child. It's a total different way of life. Yes, it is. Oh, Shawty. Wow. Shawty, your brother was on, Silky. Oh, wow. I guess he heard a couple of things too. Oh, well, we still love you, dude. So important to get that early intervention. That came from Kim Jackson. And then she said garbage, so that's probably was what she was saying. And then she blew a kiss. And Apollonia, she says, love you, Silk. Oh, Frank Neighbor was watching. Gracie.
Hey, Frank.
Apollonia says, you three are amazing, forever blessed. And then she put another picture. Then Randy Adams from Monroe, my old school buddy, was there. He was watching. Apollonia. Donna Harris, wow, she's old from Monroe. Sean.
Oh, and that's what we
wait
have.
a minute.
Oh.
Let me finish. Sean Harris. Oh, I want to be her friend. I love her. Miss Sean says she wants to be your friend. She loves you. Silk said, okay, you could be her friend. Sean Harris is watching. Apollonia is watching. Wait a minute, I'm reading.
Okay.
Sean. Shauna said this is making her sad. Sean, it's real. It's real. Every family has their journey. We just don't know every family's story except for what people post on Facebook and how their family's going through whatever. Every family goes through it, and I know everybody remembers the Saunders family. We was this and we was that, but we ain't that no more. And that's just the way it is. I'm not ashamed to tell it, and I'm not pulling no punches. It's just not like that. And I know it breaks my mother's heart, but it is what it is.
While you're looking through other comments, let me just mention this. But what I did forget to mention. Now, a lot of the comments I made were really having to do with mostly family stuff. Now, shout outs to our immediate neighbors, Frankie, Stephanie, Jimmy down the street and his wife. These guys, huh? Asisha and Pops.
In New York.
You know what? You guys have been great neighbors, and I would really say you've done as much as you can over the years. We're talking about more of the stuff that happened in the past, and that's a lot deeper stuff that you guys had nothing to be part of. But in terms of neighbors, you guys have been great. Sisha, Pops, Frankie, Stephanie, Jimmy down the street. I only kind of know his wife a little bit, but Jimmy's been there. But Frankie, Stephanie, Sisha, Pops, and even the other days, Brian's mother, Jackie, and Benny.
Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons. Yeah, there have been a few other people. We forgot in terms of neighbors. We're talking, I think a lot of it, if you really watch the whole broadcast, it was more about family stuff, okay? Because the neighbors, as you guys as immediate neighbors, y'all have been the best. That's all I can say. And I can name all the ones I just named. Y'all have been there more than I can say. Because y'all have been there. Y'all have your own family issues and your own problems and stuff you got to deal with, and you still go out of your way to help us, despite the fact. Okay, so I just want to correct that, because a lot of the stuff was more stuff that we've dealt with family over the last 30 years.
Well, a lot of the stuff is that we survived it, because when we were going through it, we didn't think we were going to survive it because it was over our heads. We never expected anything like that, and we survived it by making the choices that we made as Silk's parents, not as husband and wife, not as best friends. We made it as two human beings to protect this young lady here and give her the best quality of life that we can give her, which other people weren't. They didn't see that she deserved a quality of life because she was different, and these are people that are bloodlines.
But on the other note, like I said about people at the Palisades, people around the different businesses that we go to around here, and our neighbors,
Vegas,
they treat like Silk, and in Vegas, and they treat Silk 100% like she's here. And that's a better gift than anything else he can do for us, you know?
And there's one special person that caught somebody's eye. Let me see how she's going to react when I say this. We want to say thank you to Jason Tanner.
Oh.
She loves him. I don't know what the connection is, Jason, but you got a lifelong, you're not going to tell me? You got a lifelong friend here that she doesn't care where you are, what you're doing. Silk loves you to death, and she knows that you are not Prince. Believe me when I tell you. She knows that you are not Prince, but you are her sweetheart. You are the person that lights up her life. And I just want to say, on behalf of the dude and I, we thank you so, so much for when we come to Vegas, how the Purple Rain Tribute Band and yourself make Silk feel so...
And your staff.
And your staff makes Silk feel so...
And the Michael Jackson people,
and
too.
the Michael, Giles, yes, Giles.
They've also been really good to Silk.
Very, very friendly. And the Hitsville and the Motown Extreme family. You guys do not know Silk, but she got a crush on Jason. That's all I'm saying. But the rest of you, all of you have made Silk feel so welcome, so alive, so happy. You give her love. She's just like everybody else in the theater, and that's what we want for her every day. We don't get that here in New York City. People do not shine with her. We don't want her to shine on you. We want people to shine with her, and a lot of people just do it for their own personal reasons. It has nothing to do with the moment. So thank you, Las Vegas. Yvette, Auntie Yvette, and Kamari, our new family out there. We love you guys too. Good sister, I met her 2 years ago, and we've been connected ever since. And I just want to say thank you for the moments that we shared via telephone, via Zoom, via hanging out in Vegas, and all that. You're the one, girl. You're the one. Other people that I've known for all my life, I see you on Facebook, but y'all don't know my daughter. Y'all know of her. Y'all know what I share.
And you know what? Can I just add this? Going forward, you know what? You might feel a little shitty right now because we mentioned a bunch of things today. And you know what? You can still reach out to Silk. And you know what? We're not going to hold nothing against you. If you want to reach out to Silk starting today or tomorrow or next week, that's fine. But if that doesn't happen, that's okay too. But what I would say is if you have the opportunity for someone in your other immediate circles to be a friend, a family member, someone with special needs, listen, man, this is so difficult, and I'm not gonna make light of it. I can talk about God, and I'm not gonna make light of all that. So yeah, this is a journey from God, but it's a difficult journey, and we need each other. And when you don't have that, you feel a certain way, and that's what you heard this afternoon. And that's what our experience for the better part of 30 years has been with immediate family and things like that. But you can still reach out, and you may not reach out to Silk, but reach out to someone that you know, because they really, really need it. Believe me when I tell you.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear a story where someone shot their kid and killed themselves, and you don't want to hear that their child that was taken away from them came home, killed them, and chopped their body up. We know those people. And that's all I'm going to say. That's such a reality. And to remind you of that, I have to, because that's the worst possible scenario when people feel really, really alone. That's all. I just ask you to reach out to people. You don't have to reach out to Silk, but if you want to, listen. If we say Miss Lacey didn't hear from you for years, you want to reach out to Mar, reach out, and I guarantee you, Silk and Lacey and myself will embrace you. That's all. It's never too late to say, hey, you know what? I haven't been there. You don't even have to say that. Hey, I saw you on the video. I just want to say hello. That's beautiful, man. That's all I want to say. Do it now before we're all dead. Because listen, bottom line is, most of us who are around our age, we're entering the last third of our life. We have no idea what we're going to do with Silk. If we get too old, or one of us dies, or both of us die, we have no idea what we're going to do. We're really, really stuck right now, because we feel like we have nobody that will do for Silk the way we are. So we're kind of stuck right now. But right now, while we are cognitive and we can talk and we can text and do all that great stuff, say hello. Just say hello. I would just like to say, related. I'm thinking about you. I saw your video, man. I saw your video. Just thinking about you. Sorry I haven't been there. Or don't even say that. I'm reaching out to you right now, and that's fine. That would be fine. Because we are not in this by ourselves. We hope we're not.
No, we're not. And with that being said, this was a very, I'm glad we did this. I'm glad that we were able to share some of our stories and our journeys, and probably put some clarity on the distance that we have, that we chose to have, because the distance will remain that way, because one thing we don't do is repeat feelings. We don't repeat feelings. So this was a good are you having problems with your
No, you got to light it, and then you got to tamp it down. It's called tampering.
Okay.
So you combine the tobacco so it stays a little bit lit.
Oh, I see. So it's better off smoking a joint, man, or a bowl. But anyway, that's another story.
Nah, I'll be sleeping. I'll be asleep in a minute.
But thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it, and I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I think maybe we need to do this again for our YouTube channel, because we're trying to get subscribers, not to become a big tuber, but there are some people out there that need, let me do it this way. There are some people out there that need to be able to open up and talk about anything. We don't judge, because we've been through it. And we've survived it.
And we've made a lot of mistakes.
But the one thing that I can say is that we're on point when it comes to the safety and the well-being and the quality of life that we provide for Silk. And it is not easy, and it's sometimes a mind fuck. I gotta say that.
We only have suggestions, and you know what? Yeah, we could cover the next time. Like, maybe I could talk about Silk's daily routine, because that's a whole. It's flexible, but I could talk about the educational component and things Lacey and I have had to learn and try different things over the years. Maybe that'll be the next broadcast. Because there's a lot of things we can talk about in terms of helping people. Well, what do you do at certain stages? And everything is a certain stage.
And maybe not only that, it's kind of a tool to help a lot of parents at home with their differently able, because a lot of parents don't go out and do the things that we do with Silk. And I've been asked quite a few times, just going to Walmart, I wish I could take my daughter out. I wish I could take my son out, but he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. And my statement to them is that you can't start when they're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. You can start, but it's not going to happen like the way Silk does it. Silk's been doing this since birth.
You can probably start it. Listen, if you're going to start at 15, because now you heard something that we said, you know what? The initial couple months and maybe the initial few years of you trying is going to be difficult. But you know what? If you're willing to put the work in, you didn't do it earlier, but now you can do it. So, it's like anything else. It's going to be a little bit more work, or a lot more work now than it would have been when she was 5. Like, Silk, we know people that didn't expose their children to the outside world, and so as soon as they were exposed to sensory overload, they had seizures. Silk's been in sensory overload from day one. So, in other words, in many ways, when Silk doesn't have sensory overload, that's when she gets a seizure. So it's everything is, you know what? There's nothing written in stone. It's how you react to it at a certain point.
It's just the opposite, right? Because when she's not doing anything, that's when we have most of our situations, and that's why you see us all the time moving around and doing things, because the brain cannot settle down, because the brain is active 24/7, even while she sleeps. Even while she sleeps, right? You active while you're sleeping. So that's why she needs to be watched.
Let's go.
She needs to be watched. But before you go to the bathroom, sign off.
All right, people. Listen. I said a lot of things today. And again, I am not a Monday morning quarterback, although I could have made this decision a long time ago. and made those calls. But you know what? I stand by everything I've said, and some people's feelings were hurt. Some organizations' feelings were hurt. But you know exactly what you did, and you know exactly what you didn't do, including doctors and nurses and therapists and everybody else. So I stand by everything I said today, including everything I said. Like I said, there's nothing, I have nothing to hide. This is just stuff that Lacey and I talk about individually. We put it on Facebook. Maybe it'll help somebody else out. It's a reality. Now, those in the family that have a different viewpoint, you're welcome to call us up. We'll have a discussion on what your view of the world was as opposed to our view. That's okay. And it can be a friendly discussion if you want it to be friendly. This is our view. This is how we saw it. This is what the help we didn't get. I still wish everybody the best. And going forward, this is what, March, what is it? It's March 10th. Again, I'm going to go the way I've been living the last 30 years. I don't ask anybody's help for anything. Except for my neighbors that can help me out with a bunch. I mean, my neighbors are cool. That's a whole different, all right? But in terms of the other stuff, I'm still going to do the best I can for my wife and my daughter, my dog, all right? My DAWG dog. So I just wish everybody best. You can get my number from Miss Lacey. Those of you who are really serious about that you really need to talk, I have no problems talking with anybody at any time. So you can get that from Miss Lacey. And like I said, we'll be back on. And I think maybe next time, instead of like the overall theme, we'll stick to certain things. Like maybe we can talk about eating, or we can talk about education and different, because Silk's education has been very different at different points in her life. All right. So that's a whole nother issue to cover on a different broadcast. So be that as it may.
And
peace
also
and love,
remember,
everybody.
this is Pastor Ken Kozacek. If you need to pray, you can always call him. And
oh, that's a given. Yeah, prayers. I need to talk. Whatever it is, that's all.
And with that,
like I said, I don't sleep. So God bless everybody.
With that being said, I just want to thank all of you for coming in, and thank you for being so patient. It's 4:38. Wow, we've been on for a long time.
Come on.
But I thought this was something that was necessary. As I am a work in progress, I have a lot on my plate. Making sure that I can be the humble, kind person that I am. But I have some demons that I'm fighting. But thank you so much for whoever came in. Those of you that did come in, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it, and I know Silk appreciates it. She heard everything that we talked about. Y'all like my hair? Everything that we talked about, because it's very important that she sits in on the things that her dad and I discuss, because we know that she is very, very present. And she can communicate to the best of her ability to let us know what she's feeling and what she's not feeling, and what she wants to do. So this is why I chose to catch him. Because after 4 o'clock, y'all lucky, 39 minutes. 4 o'clock, he's a totally different being. But
it's time for a nap. Yeah,
it's time for a nap. But
it's definitely time for a nap.
Definitely, we're going to do this again. And please go to our YouTube channel, which is Silk's Angels in the Zone. Subscribe, click the like button, and we can have more conversations like this. Some fun stuff too. We can do some fun things, because we're trying to reach out to a lot of parents that are in the situation that we're in. Even if you don't have a differently abled child, and you're having issues with your teen children, with your younger children, you can always call. You can always come on YouTube, and we can talk about it, because there are reasons why children act out, and a lot of times our young parents don't have the patience, because they created that mess, and they don't know why they're acting like this and that, but you created it. It's all about what you create in your child. And I know my mom did a really, really good job with me, although I picked up some habits along the way that allowed me to be, unlike what she raised. But I still have those values, and I still have those morals that she taught me. And I have the learnings. Everything that she taught me is still instilled with me. It's just the obstacles that drop in front of you and you're like, oh, dip, I'm up against this because of a choice I made. So with that being said, I want to, keep the platform open for anybody. It can be any subject. I'm not a therapist. I just talk real life shit. I want to hear real life shit. I don't want to beat around the bush and all that stuff. I mean, nobody's perfect, and we all have the ability to turn a new page every day. And with that being said, I'm going to say thank you. And I turned a new page today. Peace. Oh, are we finished?
We could tell them we got a license. We got a niece that's a licensed therapist. She'll give you a bunch of.
Oh, I did that wrong.
Get a lot of money for it.
Let's see. Okay, we're back. Sorry. So thank you everyone for coming in. And as I said before, feel free to drop a line. Feel free to, get back in touch with us. I'm learning this YouTube thing. This is all new for me. Me and Silk and the dude. And we really want to reach out to a lot of people that may want to just talk, share some of their feelings, share some of their anxiety, share some of their stress. I can make you laugh. And we can do crafts, we can do a dance class, we can do all kinds of stuff just to relieve that stress, because that's what I do to get myself together. So with that being said, it's time to turn a new page. Silk's Angels in the Zone is live on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we're on Instagram. I'm learning all that stuff. It's just really hard to do that when you're doing Silk all day. But bear with me. If anybody has any suggestions out as to how I can make my page much better, or how I can reach out to you people more efficiently. I can't do the go on YouTube every day. It just doesn't work that way, but we will try to do it. I can't give specific times and hours that we will come on, but I will try to notify, send out posts or whatever that will be on YouTube today doing X, Y, and Z, or the day before, doing just to give people an opportunity. Now, Friday, before we go, I don't know how to do that, but Friday we will be doing our first Sister to Sister Connect, and our sister on Zoom. And if you go to Silk's page, that's Sai Chalet Kozacek, or you go to Silk's Angels in the Zone Facebook page, which I have to critique all of them because it's just been all over the place. But this was really good for me today, because I got some clarity on some feelings that I have and how I can, get my business, thriving. And I'm going to keep it raw. And I'm not going to be like other people and, falsify stuff and make things look a certain way. I'm coming on to you raw because I need the assistance just as much as anybody else. So with that being said, I'm going to turn a new page, and we shall see you soon. Thank you very much for coming. Peace.